Hey, what's up, man? We're back. It's First Smoke of the Day. It's episode 60 today. I'm your host, Pat Godds, here with my co-host, Blackleaf.
What up, what up?
It's good, man. We got some doinks rolled up. My man, Jordan from Blueprint joining us today. What's good, homie? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Bro, thanks for making time down here in L.A.
Yeah.
You boys doing a pop-up and saw what was going down. I was like, let me hit him up, see if he's going to make it happen. And boom, here he is today. Rescheduled your flight, making it happen, bro, down from Sac.
Yep. And spend any time down here. It's like 103 up in Sac. So
yeah, isn't that crazy? It's like, it was weird. It's like at night, it's hotter in Sac than here. It was like cool last night here.
yeah,
Whereas
at least
in
it
Sac,
cools
it's
down.
like,
Yeah, and that's the thing.
it's
Up
hot
there,
as
it
shit.
just stays hot. So at night, it's like 2 a.m., 93. You're like, sick.
although like I'm from Florida, so I do enjoy the few months of the year here where like it's warm at night, just because like being from Florida or being from someone else, like you don't expect like Cali is like super cold at night. If you don't have like a jacket, you're typically going to be cold.
Yeah, for sure. Even down here, it's like a trip for me to bring stuff. Like you go to the bay, even just outside of Sac, or come down here, it's like nighttime is cold. Sun starts dropping. You're like, dude, you need a jacket. Like homies come from the bay and they have, pants on and a jacket. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You drive an hour and a half there where you're like, all right, I get it.
It's crazy.
Cali is like a weird state like that, right? You go from north to south, and it's completely different weather almost. Yeah, even from, LA, you drive out towards the water, it's 10 to 15 degrees cool. It's like, what's going on? The wind starts picking up and you're like, oh, this is like a different state.
Wind blowing off the ocean. Yeah.
But it's like even from Sac to the bay, it's like that hot at night in Sac right now, but the bay still gets kind of cold, kind of like LA. So
there's like a line in the sand too between the LA and the bay, just as like we are the bay, we are SoCal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with weed, it's very much like that. It's got to be crazy for you. You've worked at a bunch of different spots.
Yeah, well, working in the grows is always funny too. It's like 100 degrees in the warehouse. You won't go into a room at 64, jump in the next room, it's 85. You're all, what's going on around here, dude? You're always living in some type of adverse environment, but it's better not being grown outdoor. That's for sure.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
That's what Green Dog was talking about, how he started outdoor, growing outdoor. The switch to indoor was pretty easy.
Yeah,
in that regard.
Like, what? Dude, all covered in dirt, 100 degrees, just trucking dirt up a hillside with a wheelbarrow.
He's like, I get to eat lunch in the air conditioning.
Yeah, you're all go get the forklift. Bring the cocoa over here. All right. Yeah.
Reses aren't buried in the ground or like under. A whole other kind of
whole different thing.
Shout out to those guys though, earning their stripes.
Woo.
Guys and girls earning their stripes on the hill.
Yeah,
that
for
shit
sure.
is like,
I mean,
that's like going through boot camp, right? Of growing. Like,
it teach you things that, carry you past other people. It's like you've been through that adversity. Grit. It's like, you look back, you have those reflection moments, I'm sure, where it's like, dude, this isn't just comprised of me showing up here. No, it's been years of sacrifice on so many fronts. That little edge, everything's just a little edge. So I think that, that drives people forward for sure.
I like what you said, sacrifice. That's a key word right there.
Yeah.
Because I think
risk and sacrifice.
For cultivators, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And you have to pick and choose. It's not like, well, you know what? I want to live here and I want to work there. It's like, no, I have to work over there. So I guess I got to live over there.
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, worth it. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go work here. And it's a full-time thing. It's not like, oh yeah, we get holidays off and my birthday and stuff. It's like, no, plants don't care if it's Christmas. They're like, we need water. They don't care what it is, your birthday, storming outside, whatever. Your stomach hurts. It's like, you better get up and go take care of the plants or they'll be dead. It's not like you file your paperwork later. Oh, I'll fill that out later. Slide it aside. Let's go get some food. It's like, dude, everything will be dead. Go get it done right now. So it's a big commitment, cultivators, and shout out to all cultivators, across the world. Pushing this whole thing, being a part of this movement, the evolution of the plant, all of it is just from literally people around the world figuring this out together. So it's a trip.
It's really a network. Everyone in their basements or in their back rooms or in their closets or in their, playing and dialing. And it's wild, isn't it? When you think about it.
Yeah. Just like over the last few years, cultivation's just gone crazy. Just like the evolution of it, learning, information sharing and all that. It's like, it's a trip.
Dude, it's wild. Yeah. Because we used to only share strains. Now it's tech. Tech was never shared. That was even the guys I came, it was like, no, hell no, you don't talk about that to other people. It was like, you could give that strain to them, but don't tell them what we're doing. Yeah. It was even like that. It was like, you could give them maybe a strain so that they can try, but don't tell them what, wow.
Tons of mysticism too. And just, whatever. weed logic. You're like, oh dude, like we're hitting them with this. They love it. You're like, what are you talking about? You know, there's so many smoke and mirrors, and my uncle told me this, so that's what it's doing. You know, that's what we're doing. And, you know, a lot of that's fallen off now, just like getting a little more factual. We can see things and actually know what we're talking about. But on the flip side, a lot of people are right. Like weed, you're in tune with the plant, you're smoking, paying attention to it. You're like, no, I know what I'm talking about. I can't prove it with science or some, you know, whatever, but it's happening. So whatever.
Like those high VPD high, when you said, like, we used to know some guys that in the middle of the night, they'd be like, you got to refresh the room. So they'd open the whole garage door and exchange all the air in the grow room after they spend 8 hours making it perfect. Right.
After get it all restart.
But it just shows you these old tech. We didn't have the data before.
Yeah. 100%. Just didn't know. Trying things, trying to figure it out. And that's the cool part. So shout out to all people fucking trying to figure it out.
These things are smoking, bro.
Oh yeah,
shit. Stewart Stoinks.
Stewart rolled them up,
bro.
Shout out to Sturt Stoinks. Sturts.
Putting Sturts.
Stoinks.
Hey, Sturt.
Nice fucking doinks. Fucking nice out.
Yeah, right.
I somehow rolled this thing up. I was all shaky before this started.
What are you smoking on?
This is a salad. This is some P90, Triple Lindy, and some Piper.
All mixed?
All mixed.
Yeesh.
Mostly P90, but I didn't have enough of it, so I just added a little both together.
What's the P90?
So, you know, Blueprint doesn't release genetics. But I'll get, it's a good time to get into that. Cause it's not like so to answer you, it's P90's GG4 gelato cross.
Oh shit.
And you know, we keep the genetics thing on the down low because on the consumer front, a lot of people are like, you're not going to be able to even sell a Gorilla Glue cross. I'm like, this is fire weed. I don't care what you say. Like, this is good weed, and we're going to help redefine that. And customers are so caught up on, they get THC thrown in their face and genetics thrown in their face, and they may become a fan of, you know, Georgia pie or whatever, gelato. And it's really renamed, or a strain's renamed, and they think they're smoking strain X when it's really not. And what they're smoking is a strain they actually don't like. They're like, I don't like that strain, but they're actually buying it and smoking it. And there's just so many smoke and mirrors and movement, and companies are forced, like, we can't sell this, rename it, do this. So there's this whole game. And you can't see the weed in the shops. You can't smell it. I'm just like, just stop. We're just going to put a little description, and if it's in our jar, it's good. Check it out. And we're working better, you know, trying to find ways to have a couple little R&D projects we're working on to try to get or find a way for customers to find out what's in the jar instead of just buying blind. Like, at least what's the terp profile, what's expected. But, you know, weed affects everybody different. So it's hard to say like, oh, this one will do this. It's like one strain could affect the same person a few different ways if you didn't eat morning, night. So it's a fun one to figure out, and trying to figure out a resolution to not being able to see and smell the weed in the store. So we're still working on that. But yeah, that's kind of our take on it. And we want to be like a Snickers bar and like other candy bars. You know what's inside a Snickers bar is good. You don't have to question that one bit. You buy, open up, it's bomb. And that's what we just want with Blueprint. It's like, what's in the jar is good weed. Check it out. So, and take the boundaries off the flavors. Let's bring other flavors back in. Oh, it's like this, I don't want that. It's like, try it. Guarantee you're going to be like, wow, this was actually really enjoyable. So that's kind of the whole spiel on that side.
Take away the bias.
Yeah, it's like you know, trying something at a new restaurant.
Yeah,
you might not like the ingredients, but you haven't tried that dish, you know. And at the end of the day, it's an accumulation of ingredients that make different flavors and taste and come together. So it's kind of just like that with weed. I see what you're saying, because honestly, if I saw it was GG4 on the jar, I would veer away into something more that I, you know, preference, you know. Yeah. So, but if I don't try it, I'll never know. So I like what you're doing there with that. And then, like you said, the THC percentage is already confusing the hell out of consumers as it is. Yeah. Because they think, oh, this is high, it must be good. It doesn't correlate at all. Yeah. It has nothing to do. It's kind of, we say a lot, it's like alcohol. You never look at the percentage, you know, unless you're, you know, super young or whatever, and you're trading barely any money, and they're like, oh,
making hunch punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like what you were saying earlier too about just like, if you're running a race, kind of explain that with kind of how you were laying that out.
Yeah. I mean, to like touch on it, people are always like, I'm like humble about a lot of stuff and, just worry about what we're doing. And that's the thing is like when you're in a race, if you're looking at the people you're racing, you're going to trip, you're going to get beat. You have to focus on what's ahead of you. And even if, in life, we don't necessarily know what's ahead of us, but, we're trying to project these things. So it's like focus on yourself. If your time and energy goes towards other people, then you're missing that for yourself. Like I was saying, there's only so much time and energy in every day. And you try to be as efficient as you can with it. And it's like, if you're putting it towards other people, and of course everyone gets caught up in someone's talking shit. You're like, puts you in a little mood, but it's like, how do you correct that? Everyone falls. How do you get up? How quickly do you get up? It's like swimming in the Olympic pools when they smash down and they have to flip off the wall. It's like that transition is a lot, and like transitions in life where, something happens. How do you recover and get back on track? How do you regain focus? So if you're just keeping your focus on certain things, not in a selfish way, but the people around you in a common goal and dream, there's other brands that have their goals and dreams, and I hope they crush it. And that's like where diversity and things are. A brand should be a personality and this like living thing that people want to associate with. And we all have multiple friends. So there could be multiple brands. There's enough room for all of this. There's, you might like eating a certain food in this time and day. You eat different things. You hang out with different people. You smoke different weed. So, everyone get it. Focus on your shit. Stop getting so caught up in, being the best or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like that thought. There's always going to be someone stronger. There's always going to be someone richer. There's always going to be someone in a better spot. Like, so you just focus on your own shit, because like comparison, just like the thief of any joy you can have in your life.
Absolutely.
It literally will rob you. Like, you could be on top of the world on a 100-foot yacht, and you look to the right and there's a 150-foot yacht. And it just like, if that ruins your whole shit, then you're never really going to get to that 100-foot yacht, in my opinion. Because you're just, like you said, you're worried on other racers in the race, and your ship could be sinking and you're looking at the other boat.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that analogy you put up, and I definitely like that mindset, because I mean, that's what it takes, in my opinion, to be a good leader. Is you definitely got to have full focus on your situation, not envy any other situations, and take all your time and energy and put it into that. Because like you said, we get limited per day, and it takes so long as it is. And speaking of the journey, I know everyone that's doing something good and great has a great journey.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about your journey, man, that you've been, it's you didn't just start out and you're like, I'm going to do Blueprint and I'm going to grow, and we're winning now. So take us back to the beginning, man. First time smoking weed.
Yeah.
How did it all start for you?
Oh man, first time smoking weed. That was fun. Yeah, first time smoking weed was crazy. We went to a buddy's house. He was like out of town, and like me and a friend, is actually now my brother-in-law. We're smoking back there. I was like, dude, this weed, we smoked it. And like, we're like, I don't know, first time smoking weed, you like don't really know what's happening. You don't get high, people say. And we look over, and dude had a cat who just had a surgery, and it had like a cone around it, and it's like had its leg up, all like licking its leg. We're dying laughing. We're like, we got to get out of here. We're all driving across town. Stupid. But yeah, it was weird. I was like, man, smoking weed's bad. Like, I played sports, grew up in a conservative home, and like, my dad was from Cuba, and came over here when he's like 4, when Castro came into power. And his family was busy working, so he just was doing whatever, running on the streets, and went down his path in life. Mm-hmm. And, met my mom and kind of corrected his life. So he has his vision. He's like, hey, you need to stay away from drugs and this, focus on these things. So I always, raised under that context. And then, yeah, next thing you know, I'm like getting into weed. So start growing weed. And I'm going to school still, taking care of like what I should be doing and growing weed on the side. And a good friend of mine, his name was Jordan. Also, he passed away drunk driving, and he had left my house, driving to his house. He lived just right around the corner, and yeah, it was not a good thing. And I was like, life is short. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm doing these things for my parents or like for myself. Like, what is this about? You know, just had one of those moments and was like, you know what? Like, for whatever reason, plants was interesting to me. Like, there's a beginning and an end. Like, we planted it, we finished it. What was that about? Let's try this again. So there was something about that. It was just like, instead of a normal job where it's like same old thing, even though jobs are different throughout the day, but this is like a definitive start and finish. So yeah, was just kind of growing, and a buddy downloaded Instagram on my phone. I had no clue, like Instagram, I didn't do social media, and he followed like a bunch of Bay Area graffiti guys and Bay Area growers. And one day I'm just looking through Instagram, like, oh, this is interesting. I see a post that says Sherwood Forest. So yeah, shout out Sherwood Forest. And I'm like, I send it to him. I'm like, yo, you should apply. It was like, hey, we're looking for workers. This isn't like come get stoned. This is real work. And I shot it to my buddy in the Bay. I'm like, yo, go check this. Like, you should apply. He's like, I'll never get the job. I'm like, all right, well, I'll hit him up.
Good attitude. Love it. Love that attitude,
And
bro.
I was like, you know, growing, kind of doing my own thing at the time. But I was like, hey, like, you're kind of crazy for posting on Instagram for like workers, I think. I'm like, but you shouldn't answer to anybody else but me. And he's like, why? I was like, well, here's my resume. Like, here's like kind of my upbringing and people around me. Check me out. Like, dive into my life, whatever you want to see. But I'm hardworking and XYZ. And he's like, can you do like greenhouses and this? I'm like, yeah. And I definitely couldn't. Like, I just was growing plants outdoors. So I was like, yeah, I could do that. He's like, all right, let's meet. And so this is Caleb Counts, now, you know, owner, founder of Connected. So we meet at a Starbucks around the corner from his house and just talk. And he's like, you could do greenhouses. We're going to get this greenhouse spot. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, all right, well, in the meantime, like, start working out at our grow in Oakland. I'm like, okay. So I started doing that, and that started it. I was sweeping floors, still going to school. I was in a master's program for Chinese medicine. I was studying acupuncture.
What year do you think this is?
This is like, what, 10 years ago? So, yeah.
2011, 12.
12, 13,
13
probably.
Yeah.
Put in those 10,000 hours, man. And honestly, just to digress 1 second, I never see a situation where someone's reaching success and they haven't put in their 10,000 hours.
Yeah, it's an interesting read on the 10,000
like
hours.
I've never once. Not with anything. I don't care if you're like putting together puzzles.
For sure.
It's weird like that.
No, absolutely. And like to talk on the Chinese side, like that's like Chinese or even like, it's like this much time, like to become a master means you've put 10 years and it's like X amount of hours. Essentially. It's like, there's just no way you can get
you
to
could
that.
shave maybe a year off, maybe
like, if you're special
like,
talented,
but it's like life stuff, you know,
Yeah.
it's
You know
the
what
way
it does?
life rolls out.
It also cuts out the bullshit of like, oh, you want to try to skip all the hard work?
You can't.
Yeah,
You can't. It's not about that. It's
I
about
haven't seen
getting
one
to
person.
the end, not, you know, the journey is you putting in your work and your
And-
hours,
and
by-
not
that's
skipping
it.
through it.
Yeah.
And by the way, 10 is like the beginning of
For
the
sure.
successful feeling. Just the beginning.
I fully
20 is
agree.
really where you're like, we fucking made it.
A master's
Yeah,
program
you know.
style. Yeah.
Like true expertise kicks in.
Yes.
One company
You know?
that I take note of that I watched his journey from almost the beginning to the end was Diamond Supply Co., the skateboarding brand with the
Nikki
clothing
Diamond.
company and stuff.
Oh yeah, for
Once
sure.
they hit their 20 year, it was like, this dude made it. Like he's the man. The dude's
Right.
successful. Like he's the American dream of like, doesn't have to, he can do what he wants, you know?
Right.
And-
Yeah.
but I know we're
Self-sufficient.
digressing. Then the other thing I want to talk
No,
about
for
before
sure.
we forget, later on or whatever is benefits of acupuncture, bro. I go to acupuncture all the time. That shit's the truth.
Then
Like,
we talk about the shit
later
yeah.
after the story,
Oh,
but that's
okay,
cool
yeah.
that you did that. That's fucking interesting. That's the
Yeah,
last
got
thing
a
I
cool
would
story
think.
about it, and a cool dude that's like the man of what I think acupuncture
Put some people
is.
on some game
Yeah.
because I always try to tell people and shit.
Oh yeah.
Truthfully, I tell people, I was actually just talking to Alex from Ain't Nobody Cool a couple nights ago. I was like, because we were talking about it. I was like, if I could tell people one thing on earth, if they said one thing you could pass on, it would be this Eric Shanky in acupuncture. Like he would change. I saw him save so many people's lives and change things. It was just
Really?
yeah, just if
Put
chronic,
us on game. Yeah.
he's
yeah.
a chronic pain specialist. If you're in pain daily, back, shoulder, this, that is the guy for what you need to do. And if he's not, he'll tell you.
Is it just body or also mental?
So that's like diving into like the segments of acupuncture of like what happens a lot in America is a different style of acupuncture. Like you go, my back hurts, and they put a needle in your arm and you feel better. It's an endorphin release. He's orthopedic. Like I have muscle pain, but you know, mental stuff could come from depression on chronic pain and stuff. So if, you know, if it's tied to that, outside of that, I wouldn't say like mental health is his expertise, but there are people are in that field that could be of such.
But chronic pain, and then just tell quick, what does acupuncture do for the body?
So like,
and then we got to get back to the story because it was so like, we were heating up.
Well, like his style of acupuncture, which is ah sure, which means like translation is like all right here, like this is where I'm hurting. Okay, so his style of acupuncture is basically when you're in pain, muscular wise and like tissue, it's like you have muscle fibers that are all aligned, you know, and they expand and contract. When you get hurt, they tear. Right? When those go to heal, if they don't heal correctly, it lays scar tissue. Scar tissue is like glue. It doesn't move. It's not fluid. It doesn't get blood and it doesn't get oxygen because it's thick. That's why you have pain. Your body's like, I fucking hurt here. I don't have blood and oxygen. I'm not mobile like I should be. I fatigue out early. I cramp up. And the connection between the muscle and the brain is thrown off. Like your body's like expand, contract. It's fighting it. There's resistance. It's damaged. So when he goes in with a needle, he pokes that damaged area and it hits the muscle and it sends a loop to the brain of like, hey, this is how tense I am right now. Like you've had me way too tight, and it balances that relation. It's like restarting a computer. And he fights through the scar tissue and starts breaking that scar tissue up, and your body can heal itself, right? You get a paper cut, you get hurt, your body heals itself. So it's just promoting the right healing path. So he hits you with the needles where it hurts, your muscles are jumping. And you know, when you get a massage and it's like, oh, that's the spot. Like that's what, when he hits the needle, you're like, oh dude, like, yes. And it recreates the pain you feel. You're like, dude, that feels just like when it's hurting. And then he'll put these little cigar chunks on it and light them on fire. It's called moxibustion. And the heat travels down the needle into your muscle. So it warms it and brings blood and oxygen there. And it also relaxes the area so it feels good. And that's how the treatment ends. So he hits you up and then he puts those mox on, warms it up. And if you have like a problem, like 4 or 5 treatments and you're rocking like a normal, like, and you know, if you like, you're on your computer all the time, your shoulders, maybe you need a treatment every 6 months just to work through that, you know, tension. But yeah, it's
crazy. I was just in there a week ago and I was like, you put one in my shoulder, and when it hits the spot, it'll hit the muscle and the muscle will jump and then release. And you literally feel the relief instantaneously.
Damn, so somebody's doing that?
I get acupuncture all the time. I'm in LA. I go to a little spot. I'm not going to say on here or whatever, but I go to a little spot in LA or whatever.
Pay to play?
And it's like, no. I was like, well, it's all legit. It's like a wellness center or whatever, right? It's modern, but it's nice. But they do a massage, then they do acupuncture, then the chiropractor comes in and does it. So I get like the 3-way, and I walk out of there feeling like, just young, man. Just like, ready to go. I also sciatica, a lot of driving, a lot of flights. Yeah. So that's how I got led into acupuncture was absolutely. I had no relief from sciatica. I stretch every day still. It helps, but it's not relief in my opinion. It's not. So I started doing yoga and I started doing acupuncture, and that literally healed me where like it'll pop back up, but I just go get a treatment again and it's like, you just maintain it or whatever. But honestly, I'm the biggest believer in acupuncture because like I've fucked myself up pretty bad in multiple situations, and I go to acupuncture like twice a week for 4 to 6 weeks, and I'm back in the game. I'm back in the gym. I'm back lifting. I'm back doing my thing. And it's just crazy that you said that because I'm like, I tell people about it all the time. You know, like, dude, it works.
Think about all the growers and hash makers and hustlers that are in cars for 12, you know, like on and on. The amount of guys putting in hours. Like this.
Well, dude, it's
and
like,
sleeping on couches, sleeping in hotel beds, like a lot of us are on the move a lot. You're right, man.
And
It's
stressed. Like this is stress.
Yeah.
You know, this, you carry so much, you know, the headaches, your neck and stuff. It's all of that, you know, and like massage like feels good, but the next day you're back like hurting, you know, it feels good then, but it's like
those
dude,
needles,
that treatment,
trippy.
the 3-way, that's because that's what I do. I'll line that exact thing up myself and like get acupuncture, get relaxed up, then get some chiropractic the next day and try to reset, you know, bone structure. Yeah.
Well, that's what the chiropractor says, that, you know, I move so much better because I just sat on my face down for 30 minutes with needles in my back. It forces you to relax too, because you can't tense up. Because if you tense up, it hurts. Yeah. So your body literally can't tense up. And so you're sitting there for 30 minutes with just letting it go, like just breathing. And then you get, you know, cracked after that, and it's like your muscles relax, and now your bones can move how they need to. It's crazy how the body's so resilient, and like crazy how it works together. But
that's what I was like. I was fascinated by it. Like
that's even you just saying it, I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
So that was your master's?
Yeah, like, and I dropped out of that.
Yeah, but you were focused on that.
Yeah, because I had injuries all the, like from sports, tore my hamstring, and I always like, my weakness is tight muscles. Like I needed to do yoga. Like if I was flexible, I'd be better off in life, period. But I don't dress it like I should. Nonetheless, but I ruptured my Achilles downhill mountain biking, and like partial rupture of my Achilles, but I couldn't get on the ball of my foot for like a year and a half. And I wanted to be a physical therapist. And they're like, dude, you'll never be able to like run again. And I was like doing triathlons and stuff. I was like, dude, it's brutal. And I was working in the ER. I worked in the ER for like 8 years. And this doctor's like, you need to go acupuncture. I'm like, dude, like, that's not going to do anything. I go, this acupuncturist puts needles in my arms. I feel good. I'm like, that was cool. But like the actual tissue in my leg is ripped in half. Like this won't heal that tissue. I know it won't. And so I go back. The doctor's like, no, you need to go to Eric. I'm like, okay. And we're in a small town. I grew up in Orville. I don't know if anyone knows the town. It's a small little hills town. This dude's in Orville. I'm like, okay. I go down a little alley, and the house is facing the alley. It's this little house, and I go in, and it's just like full of smoke. Like you just smoke in the ceiling and curtains, and there's like Chinese music playing. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? And this tall dude comes out, this white dude, like 6'3". I'm like, what's going on? He's like, Eric, the nicest dude ever. Talk to him, and we do a treatment, and it's intense. And treatment's over, and I could get on the ball of my foot. Like I could move my leg, and I like started to cry. I was like, dude, like this is insane. And so I like went home, and I like the next day I was like, dude, I can run. And I went for a run, and I was like, fucking just like, it was mind blowing. So I went back, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, talk to me about this. I was studying muscles and stuff. And he's like, dude, this is what it is. He's like, Chinese medicine's like, oh, chi and energy. He's like, no, I look at it, I'm a science-based, like here's muscle structures. This is what we're doing. I'm an orthopedics pain specialist. So he's like, you can be my student. I was like, dude, what? So I was like studying it with him and going to school to get a license. And it was tough. It was too hard. I dropped out. Started growing weed.
Nah, but it just, like, man, it very interesting. And it just shows you that, like, you know, your craft and your focus, you know, it's like very interesting, bro.
And like at the time I was working in a hospital, and I was just seeing people get shoved drugs. And then like Chinese medicine was like herbs and like stages of healing. Like in America, when you get hurt, you take ibuprofen and ice. It stops inflammation. You're like, oh, I'm hurt. Well, when you stop inflammation, that stops healing. It's part of the healing process. Inflammation, cell proliferation, like cell regeneration. So you're like, stop swelling, body lays scar tissue. So I had all these injuries. I'm like, I would take ice baths all the time and shit, because I thought that's what you would do. I'd go to practice, take an ice bath, ice my arm. I'm doing all the stuff I thought I would do, supposed to do, and it was the worst shit for you. So I started seeing Chinese medicine, like giving herbs for like, oh, you take cooling herbs if your body's inflamed, and warming herbs if your body's cold from lack of, you know, flexibility, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like weed is good. Like I need to be doing this. Like I'm seeing Western medicine with just pills and everything. And then I'm seeing the acupuncture and weed. I'm like, nah, this is life. This is healing. Not working in this ER where it's just crazy, no walls, everyone's sick, screaming at each other, taking pills, all fucked up. And then people over here growing a plant, all happy. I'm like, this is like way better for life. So that's what like really pushed me into weed was that whole relationship with acupuncture and shit. Yeah.
Isn't it a
it's
crazy
crazy.
journey?
No, it's holistic healing
and
and
a journey.
Bro, it works.
Yeah.
Like I never looked at like, oh, I'll just start popping pills and that'll fix me. It's like, no shit. Like I had friends die from that shit. It's like, I'm not doing that route. Right. So it's like, as you're exploring and trying to figure it out, you come to realize that it's like all the stuff that's overlooked that just seems like mythical or like bullshit. It's like, nah, this shit actually works.
Yeah.
You just got to go try it. But it's funny because everyone I mention acupuncture to, they're like, right. And they're never going to try it. But I'm just like, it's all good. I mean, you're in pain every fucking day. You should just go try it.
It takes that 1 out of 10.
But if you studied it, you knew. So I was like, oh shit, I got to bring this up because it's life-changing for real. If you got back problems or any type of problems, any muscular problem, whatever, go get acupuncture. I guarantee you, even if it's a whatever treatment, it's still going to help you.
Yeah. Just look up the field. That's why I tell people, like, for real, go to acupuncture. Check it out. Research.
Who's the guy in Orville? Let them know who the guy.
Eric Shanky in Orville. Orville Acupuncture. It's, if you're in pain, it's worth the drive. And people will like, go to a doctor, go get like referrals to a surgeon.
Yeah, I did that for my back.
Yeah, and like my buddy who works at Blueprint with me, really good friend, Kyle, he's had 2 back surgeries.
Oh, wow. That's scary.
And he's gone to Eric a lot too. And it's just, it's L4, L5. And
same when everyone damages from
microdiscectomy and is hurt. Like, and right now he's going to do some PRP. It's like plasma therapy.
Yep.
Because I'm like, it's just brutal watching this guy like lay on his back for years now. Just a hard working dude, and it's just in pain. Like you can't move.
As a kid, you look at guys who are like, oh, I'm a back. And you're like, you old fucking cow.
Yeah, you're like,
and then you have a back issue and you're like, oh my God, this is so real that like you damn near need a wheelchair. Yeah, you're like, I can't. You're laying on the ground, like on the cold ground in the warehouse, with the grow rooms, and you're like, my back won't release. It's like your back stays like an arch, It's fucking wild. But acupuncture, I got you. What the journey though? Your journey, bro. To first start with medicine and then go into plants and then go into weed.
Yeah,
that's trippy.
It's been a trip. People wouldn't think, I never, if somebody told me what I'm doing now, like years ago, I'd be like, no, there's no way on earth. And I hear
even the fact that you grew up in Oroville, because for anybody that doesn't know Oroville, that's as good as Humboldt. Like it's the Mecca, it's up there, right? And if you go to that town right now, it's all weed.
Yeah.
All weed.
I didn't know about it. I didn't know anything. So I wasn't aware. It's like, if you didn't know if something existed, you didn't know.
And this is the time period now. What year are we going
looking back, all my buddies I went to high school with, all their dads like grew weed, like everyone. I'm like, dude, clue. All this. And I always wondered, I'm like, what's that? I'm like, man, this is crazy, dude. I'm like, meanwhile, like my dad's over here, like working 2 jobs. I'm like, dude, I don't understand how this works, but all right.
It's weed friendly city. You got the dam, the Orville Dam.
The Orville New Dam almost broke and killed everyone in the town. There was an earthquake there the other night too. Crazy. Like dead in the center of Orville. I'm like, this place is not good, guys. We got floods, fires. Like, get out.
They were worried the dam was going to break and kill it and basically flood the whole town for a while. I remember reading it. It was great when we first got out here.
Dude, the dam was like, it was cracking and like they evacuated.
And they're just everyone. Like any day now.
Yeah, the whole town's gonna be flooded.
There was like the lake got too full. And then they have a spillway and the water's coming down the spillway and they're releasing water and the spillway is deteriorating, eating into the hillside under the dam. So it's going to just eat the dam out. So then they have an emergency spillway and they start releasing the water and it starts eating the hillside. So it's just eating the dam away. And they're like, dude, it's either going to eat the dam away or the water's going to get low enough. And
do they have enough water out there to flood a town?
Oh yeah. The lake feeds a lot of like LA. And so they have to keep it.
It's crazy to see how low the levels are.
Yeah, because and like we'd always be like, well, you guys keep it so low, but it's like a big water surge, anything comes, they're like, they got in bad shape. So they rebuilt the whole dam, the whole spillway. So shit should be cool now.
Crazy, right? But that's why they got, think about how much water you need to grow weed and they got the hills. So it makes sense.
What people don't realize though is there's a lot of farming and growth in that area of California.
Oh yeah,
it's like that's more so
the
than
whole
weed.
middle.
Yeah, that's what
way more so than weed. It's like, what is it, like almonds and shit,
rice,
everything, pistachios, wine.
When I got out of the
small crop, tons of farmland of just like, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I
When
was
you
rice
look at
farming for a little
California,
while.
the whole middle section, if you literally take California and you put your finger at the top and the finger at the bottom, the whole middle is
there's
all
not
just
much
farming.
population.
No, it's just the
there
top
is.
and the bottom.
Yeah, it's like the Central Valley, it's like boom, that's where all the ag land is, the farming, everything happens. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's all farmland.
Thank God they didn't push the weed industry out there. They probably tried. You know what I'm saying? They'd love for us to go in the middle of nowhere
For sure.
and grow a little bit of weed way away from everybody else.
And it's funny, like, weed is like you grow these sticky arms. So it's like the mountain is like that fresh, clean air. You go down into like ag land, it's dusty as can be, blowing around. Your weed's all brown. It's like, that's what like,
For real.
Mendo
That's a good
weed and
point.
Humboldt and stuff. It's like, oh, this weed's dank. It's like that crisp microclimate.
Good air.
And like, yeah, exactly. Not
Good
all
air,
just,
good sun. Different. It's crazy how vast and diverse California, the state is.
yeah, it just covers the whole coast, so we get everything.
What was it like growing up in Oroville?
Dude, I mean, yeah, it was like, I don't know. It was cool for me.
What sport? You say sports? What sports? Baseball?
Baseball, football, basketball, cross country kind of thing. But like baseball and football were more like when it hit high school, it's like football was a blast, baseball was a blast.
Was everyone grow? Did you realize at a young age everyone was growing weed out there? Or?
Yeah, into my senior year, basically.
Okay.
Into my senior year.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what's like going on. And that's kind of when I was like, I'm super competitive and like it's sports and everything. I was like, dude, like if I want to be the worst, I truly want to be the worst. I hope everyone's better than me. Could you imagine growing up with like dudes that are the best at something? You're going to be good too. So, I was always wanted that. Love competition, love being the worst, like so I can learn the most and push myself. So I saw people growing that I was like, dude, whatever it is we're doing, I'll do it better than you. If you're doing this and you're growing the best weed and stuff, I'll grow the best weed. Like, so that was kind of the little push on the competition side. Is everyone was kind of doing it. I was like, okay, shit, I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. And so where does it start? What's this start with seeds?
So let's go back to the collective effort or Sherwood Forest. Sorry.
Sherwood.
You go, you meet with Caleb, which this is legendary. I mean, did you realize at this point you had met someone that had the potential to like,
I met, no,
really help you launch some shit?
No clue.
You dive in with them and where does it go from there?
I was fortunate. It's like to all the people to meet, and it was like there was something about them though. Like, and I like being around good teams too. I'm like, there's something like they're doing something, whatever it is. Like it felt good. And so I met him and started working out the grow and was just sweeping the floor. And I would just like sleep there, a few nights of the week. And I had a garden up north and was still going to school at the time, actually. So I was like just sleeping in the garden, wake up at like 3 a.m., go take care of this, drive over here, work like 24 hours a day, basically trying to float all three things. And I was like, look, until my outdoor harvest, I'm going to be kind of doing everything. Then once my outdoor harvested, I could focus more on that. And I was just like working in the garden, waiting for the greenhouse opportunity. And it never came through. And they're like, hey, we're getting a spot in Sacramento. You want to go out there and work? I'm like, that's cool. Like, I was just willing to go wherever. So I was like, if I got whatever it is, cool. You be here? Cool. So I went to Sacramento and started working out the grow. And it was like, I had no clue what I was doing. I'm like working at this, it's still Bandwagon is the name of the grow, BW.
What year was this?
This is like, I don't know, 2014.
Look at this.
Bad with years.
You got in the door.
Still though, I mean,
but you wouldn't have taken the job that they were hiring for a greenhouse, and you said you worked greenhouse even though you never had, right?
Never had, yeah.
Then that greenhouse never came about, so you would have never had a job if you wouldn't have just put your foot in the door.
Yeah. Exactly.
It says so much, bro.
And like when I was taking the job, they were looking for trimmers, and Eric Shanky, the acupuncturist, was kind of my mentor. I'm like, hey, I'm going to maybe take this job in the Bay trimming. He's like, why would you do that? He's like, you're doing this. He's like, tell him you don't want trimming job. Tell him you want to run things. So I was like, yeah, I want to run things. And he's like, okay. I was like, this is tight.
Hell yeah.
And it was like, then the pressure was on. It's like, okay, I shouldn't be here, but I'm here.
Yeah.
But like, let's do this. So I'm just researching like crazy every night, like any bit of information I can find on the internet, everything, asking anyone I know about anything. And at the same time, applying that every day to the plants and observing, like, what did I do? And what is happening to the plant? That's not good. Don't ever do that again. You know, and then I have bosses too, like, you need to do this. And you're like, ah, man, I just don't know. Like, it seems like you don't know either. So like, why should I trust you? And, I got myself in a lot of trouble working, you know, Connected early on. And cause I just like, I questioned a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot through it. It's like how to go about challenging something and you know, a trial, how to truly do a trial and to have a control too. Like, this is what we do. Okay. If we want to tweak something, we'll tweak it outside of it, and we'll do it in a controlled setting, and we'll do the grower standard versus the variable. Right. And we'll look at it. So it taught me a lot, but I was a little wild. And yeah, got into a spot where basically they're like, a new CEO came on, and they're like, look, you're walking on thin ice. And I was like kind of challenging stuff. I was like, I want to run it the way I want to run it. And they're like, okay, you have like 60 or 90 days. You're going to do everything you want. And if it's better than the last historical year, then you got the job. If not, you're going to be sweeping floors forever here, and you might as well just quit now. I'm like, all right, deal accepted. Let's do it. And like, you know, 2 runs later, they're like, all right, the guy who was kind of overseeing all the grows, they're like, you're out. And, you know, that was like one of the big.
How far was it? How long had you been working at this point?
A couple years.
Okay.
Wow. A couple years.
I want people to wrap their head around. It wasn't 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
A couple years in.
A couple years in. And, you know, then some more like, and so at this point, Connected has like 2 or 3 grows. And,
you're in the sack spot.
I'm in the sack spot. There's another sack spot, an Oakland spot, and then soon to be another Sacramento spot. And, you know, Caleb was really good at what he did. He would come in and be like, hey, the other places are way better. This place looks like shit. He's like, I'm like, okay, like, you do everything right. There'd be a million things done right. There's one thing wrong. He's like, what's up with this? You're like, dude, like, what about all this other good stuff?
He was good at coming in and spotting.
Yeah. And just like picking out anything that could be wrong. Yeah. And be like, this sucks. Like, you got to do better. And I'm the type of guy, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'll show you better then. I'm like, fuck you. I'll work every hour of every day of every second and not stop. You know, so he knew how to drive me especially. I was like, dude, so like all of it, just all the pressure of, you know, just learning it, wanting to do it. The industry is moving so fast. It's a cool, and you know, at this time we're growing the gelatos and animal cookies, sunset sherbets. It's, you know, cookies. It's like, this thing is sick. Like, people, it's a big deal.
The most famous strains in Connected's history, that as far as like when they made their name, basically.
Gelato 25, 33, 41, 45, animal cookies, sunset sherbet. Like, that was like the rows in the rooms.
That's wild.
And learning the gelatos, and like now stepping back in perspective, like Gelato 41 in particular is a tough plant to grow, and tough plant to have a finished product that's good. Like, you can kill the terps on it. It can be whatever, smell basementy, musty. It's a tough plant to grow. So we're in there just like ripping our hair out, doing the craziest things ever, cocoa beds, shoveling out tons of dirt, blowing our backs out, doing just the craziest stuff, just working so hard.
Testing different methods to try to get it.
Yeah, just trying to be the best, you know, we could be on every front. So yeah, Caleb's coming in there talking shit, like pushing us to do, you know, go better. So yeah, it was cool. Then it evolved into like all the grows kind of starting to work together. For a while it was, every grow was on an island, and Caleb would just be like, you guys fucking suck, come in. And then everyone like started talking to each other. Like, he says the same thing to me. And we're like, what? And, but you know, so yeah, it was a good thing though. And, then that evolved into like us, like all like having team meetings. Like Hunter was one of the growers, Attila, Kenny. So a lot of those guys are still with the company, and shout out to them. Like, thank you guys for everything you did for me and for the brands and for the industry. Just was blessed to be around other good working, hardworking people, and the opportunities, the platform, and all of it was there for us to have a sandbox to, push it. I couldn't have done this if I didn't have those hours sitting in there, and messing things up. I couldn't have done it.
That purpose that pushed you.
Yeah. It's like all that's experience and purpose, like trying. I couldn't do what I'm doing right now without that.
You got drive just installed like in your DNA. I can just tell.
Yeah.
I could say some off the wall shit right now and be like, you down right now? Like you'd be like, yeah, let's go, let's do it. It's hard for you to say no.
Yeah, like
with shit like that.
I'm like, dude, it sounds sick. Let's get it. It's hard to like channel stuff sometimes. So
do you have a girl at these times and a kid or anything like that?
At this time, like through this, no. Like,
it's all focus.
A girlfriend here or there.
Yeah, but nothing like I was married and I had a kid.
No, exactly. Yeah, and exactly. Girlfriend, but nothing like that. Now I have a fiance and a kid, a 3-year-old. So it definitely adds a dynamic to it. It's tough. Like there's I can work 24 hours a day. So I have to balance family and not just like being there, but like actually being there and paying attention while I'm like thinking about a million things, getting a million texts, like, how it is. You guys are it's the grind.
Yeah. Do you think you could have sharpened your tool as sharp with the family that you have now? Meaning like at that same time, like if you wouldn't even be able to juggle the same.
I wouldn't have been able to juggle it because I was legitimately like, like at the time I was like, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but like I'm like running a couple grows for the company. Then I'm like running 2 like trap houses and like doing, this with my buddy. And it's like work all day, come home, work with plants till 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then go to bed and wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and do that 7 days a week for years, for years. Like I remember a buddy like moved up to Washington. He's like, I just got the job. He's like, come see me. I'm like, all right, when I get like some time off or something. And like 3 years later, he's like, dude, it's been 3 years. I'm like, dude, I swear I've never even left. I'm like, I've not taken a day off. I'm like, holy shit, I'm coming up to say what's up. It was crazy. Yeah, it was an obsession for sure.
That's fucking amazing. So you guys you're in SAC, you're doing your thing. You guys are running all these strains. You finally find out, oh, this is how this guy's pushing us and stuff like that. You managed to prove your method, take the top spot in this spot. So you're pretty much running the spot at this point?
Yeah, like, so then we like started, we went to like, something happened where I went over to one of the other grows and I saw they were dealing with some issues like pest management and plant health. I'm like, dude, I don't deal with any of that. And like, I cut the clones for them at the time, or like we shared like nursery. I'm like, what's going on? So we're like, a little backstory too, is like, I had like dated a girl that was within the company and it caused like riff amongst the crew. And it was a learning lesson on my part. So that is something I have to mention because it added like a folded dynamic into this. I started working with these other growers now that they had been all longtime friends. And I'm like the first outsider get brought in. And so people weren't like my biggest fan. So I really had to work hard at everything I did to be like, dude, like, you have to be liked as well. So I started working with other grows. And so I have to mend the relationships first and like gain trust. And I'm not coming in here to tell you what to do. I'm coming in here because I really want you to be better and, help out with your problems. I know this is stressful. I know none of us sleep about this. And I know you don't want this because I know Caleb's yelling at you just as much as he's yelling at me. So like, this is not good. So came in and, worked through that and get everyone like on the same page. And so, it worked into like, just like working on plant health. And then we were just making roles as we went. And it was like, okay, now it worked into the director role where I'm just kind of overseeing all the movement. What are we doing on the breeding program? What are we doing in the nursery? What are we doing in veg rooms, flower rooms? How are we drying, curing, all that? And just kind of looking through all of that and making sure everything's flowing how it should. Because people know the difference between the grows, all the grows. We got to try to get this the same to where when people buy a jar connected, they know what it is. Not like, oh, this grow doesn't do as good. It's like we have to be the same. So that was the objective there. But yeah. I don't know. There's tons to talk about there, so I'm like going off in veins.
I like where the story's going. So now you got your spot going, and you're bouncing around to other spots. So you're playing more of, like you said, the director role, management, learning about. I'm sure now not just plant skills, people skills.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the big
which
part.
is huge because
like
it's
the
two
honest
different
people.
parts. Because we
Way
talk
harder.
about this on the show a lot, is that a lot of people that are good with plants aren't that good with people.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets probably interesting that you're working diligently to get good at both at this point.
Hello guys, Alex here, owner of Mango Tech Store. We are the house of Trollmaster. We are the house of Think Grow. Whether you're growing commercially, growing at home, or growing in a tent, we got you. Come see us. We got the best pricing, best customer support. Nobody can beat us. Mango Tech. Like I said before, with the house of Trollmaster and with the house of Think Grow, got the new lifters in-house. Order up.
Yeah. And like, yeah, people and processes, and like, hey guys, like I know, growers just been growing weed. I'm like, hey, here's a spreadsheet to fill out. They're like, what? Like, I'm like, you don't know Excel? You don't know how to do this? Or like, and I had, going back to when I was growing too, I was like, how do you I was like, why are the tables this far apart? Why are the lights this far away from the tray? Like, who built this, and talking with everyone, it's like, oh, this is what we thought or whatever, the people just passing down information and everything was good, but it was like, could it be better? Like, how do you design a facility? How do you make it more efficient? And I'm obsessed with facility design. That's like my favorite thing in this. One of my favorite things in the space is like designing a facility. And a lot of people, I design a facility. It's like, laying out a facility that has no bottlenecks front to back and is utilizing all the space efficiently. Like you go to spots that have a big veg room that's never going to be used. You're like, that could have been flower lights, or their veg room is not the right size. Their dry rooms, it's like all of those have relationships. If you have this many flower lights, you need this many moms, right? You need this many clones, you need this much dry space, and the square footage calculations to truly balance that and make that the most optimized facility. I got super into that, and it started with doing that at the grows and working on Excel sheets, writing down formulas, writing down what you did in the run, recording like what your yield was, and trying to get efficient with this and make like a whole suite that's like, okay, we can record what we're doing without being too much of a burden. I don't want to sit there and take notes on everything, but so I was working on all that. So then fast forward, like trying to get everyone on like sheets and get this thing organized. And we have, Connected's now a full-blown company. It's like, what's the supply chain? What rooms have what strains? What's your projected yield off of this? So we know what we're going to have to sell. So, just building that whole thing out, and trying to get growers who are just stubborn and just want to grow to like, be a part of that. It was fun.
In that period of time, though, there's a lot going on with Connected as well. You guys originally had Burner. It was like cookies connected together, right? And then it transitioned to just Connected. You guys have to switch all those strains out, or how does that work with like, because I know there's that wave of like, you guys basically then have all your own stuff now.
Yeah. And like, I didn't know.
If you don't mind talking about it.
No, and I don't know a lot of the politics. I was honestly just focused on growing weed. And I was like, dude, like, that's all I care about. So I didn't
you've
know,
been dialing these strains in, and now you got to switch them all out.
Yeah. And like, some of them stayed. And I think that's where like a lot of the controversy was around, or like problems within the internal groups was like, who gelato, who did it belong to, who was allowed to keep it. So we kept a lot of those, but then we started on the breeding. So on the grow front, it wasn't too much of a change, but it was a little more like, and looking back, it's like, okay, this was going into a brand. Like how much, now that I have a brand, like understanding it, I'm like, man, that was like, we were trusted a lot with like a big thing, like grow this weed for this big company. It's like looking back, I was like, holy shit, like we're signing on these jars essentially, like check this out. And we're in there like, figure it out, dude.
Right? It's small picture, big picture.
Playing
totally
off the dribble.
different.
Yeah, for real.
But dialing in, that's what people don't get. This whole time you're figuring out, why do the lights have to be this far? Why do we put the trays this far? Why don't we run 6 plants a tray side by side instead of 5? Why does this one yield different? Should we tie this one down? Should we not? All these little factors that start to create what Connected is.
Yeah.
What at this point, like what key players were you really talking to and listening to when it came to your information and your tech that you actually implemented? Because you hear a lot of shit, and it's like it might be coming from someone you don't know that well, and it's hard to trust that for your own situation.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Just looking back, it was just because it was so much, and like what fell off and stuck together. I always say though, like I love like, yeah, listening to somebody who knows more than I do. And just like, if they can say one thing that you can, you know, subtract from it or deduct from it, like, okay, this is valuable, then you win. So it's just little bits over the years. But, you know, so all the growers, again, Hunter, Kenny, Attila, Caleb, Dylan, and all of the guys I worked with in the garden forever, you know, I'm not mentioning everyone's name, but all you guys, for, you know, just talking. Cause I was very like, a lot of people were like, hey, you don't worry about it. We'll grow the weed. You get to the work. I'm like, what are you guys like thinking in here with this? Like, what's everyone thinking? And not that I'm going to listen to what you have to say, but what is it that you're thinking? So just try to glean from everyone in the garden and read as much stuff. And that's when I got addicted to Instagram though, was like looking at everyone's grows, reading all the comments, looking at everything, like, interesting, look how this is set up, or this is what he's talking about. And then you read something and you like start researching it. You're like, oh, what's VPD? What is this? Oh, what's this have to deal with? You know, and so just, you dive into all these wormholes. So then you have to like strip down every function, like, oh, cloning, like what is like, you know, rooting hormone, like how's this work? And you dive into all these little segments and you learn about all these little things that takes you from, you know, like, you know, cultivation to consumption. It's like my IG name. It's like from growing it to smoking it and analyzing everything in between. So you're just running through all of it, you know, and then like, once you like feel like you like know about all of it, then you have to put it all together. And like, how does all this fit together? Okay. If I'm cloning and growing like this, what's this whole system look like? And so then working that back and forth, dissecting different pieces, rebuilding that piece back into the system, and just making this whole thing a system, you know, from cultivation to consumption, how it's grown to how it tastes, all of this matters. You know, we're growing it to smoke it. So it's not just growing it. It's like, you know, to the finish line.
Dude, that is so huge. What you just dropped.
Which makes a big difference. So
I think I blacked out. I don't even know what happened.
What do you think?
Like, what was I asked, Steven?
What do you think a percentage of growers that actually smoke cannabis versus growers that don't smoke?
You know, it's, from what I've seen, I would say it's heavier on the they don't smoke side, especially in like the rec scene.
Do you think that inhibits their ability to perfect their craft?
Absolutely. You know,
be like a chef cooking a meal and never tasting
it, you know. Like I say, like, yeah, I use
analogies
all the time.
I almost think, you know, and people may take offense to this, I don't really care if they do, but I almost think you shouldn't be able to grow weed if you're not going to try it.
Yeah, it does yourself a disservice.
So yeah, flip it. You gotta, if you gotta stop that I don't smoke shit. Start smoking some weed if you're growing it, so that you can at least test your flavors out.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if you don't smoke with the regular, but
no,
you're gonna smoke a joint of that shit you just grew.
Yeah,
and if you can't, then you should be able to sell it.
Yeah, you know, yeah, you could throw so many analogies at it, and people will get wild too with this one. Like, it'd be like saying like you're a pitcher and you just throw a ball into a black tunnel. And you're like, dude, I'm savage. It's like you didn't throw it to a catcher or batter to say if it's a strike. You don't know what actually happened. You just threw a ball.
No target.
It's like you just grew some weed, but cool.
How's it smoke? How's it taste? How's it burn?
It's supposed to be consumed. How do you feel? What's the next step?
To the point where, you know, you could just inhale it a few times, right? And get it maybe even one time.
Yeah.
And the rest just taste it. You don't even inhale it. Not even saying inhale it, but light that thing up, smoke it. You don't got to inhale every hit, but you should be smoking your own product if you're growing cannabis and offering it to the market, especially if you know people are going to line up and smoke it themselves.
Because if you did that, you lit it up and you hit it, you're like, oh my, that's terrible. It's like, what? Something happened.
A lot of people would realize
I should change something. Otherwise you're blind. You're like, dude, this is so sick. I'm killing it.
The old homies I came up with would get a double bubbler or a bubbler. They'd pack one piece of top nug in the top. They'd hit it with like a match or some type of thing after, I swear to God. And they would be like, the flavor's on point. It's tasting good. Like that was like that. And they would literally buy a piece sometimes every harvest. They would go out, buy a $200 rig, right, with a double bubbler. They're like, I don't want to I don't want it to taste like any cleaner or anything, you know? Yeah. And they would be crazy. And he would pack one little, I remember my homies doing this, pack one piece of top nug in there, hit it. And they were like, even with a match and shit, and he would be like, I don't know, man. And KP, he would do this like avidly coming up, and then it transitioned to our crew, and it was like, yeah, they didn't like, they like smoking, but that was like a tradition, like taste the product you just finished.
Like you have to.
Yo, I'm here at Grow Generation, and what do they have? One of our sponsors, Lux Lighting. The highest quality components designed in Los Angeles and distributed globally. Go to luxlighting.com to find out more and find out what all the big grows and all the pros are using to grow. Hey, so we want to give a major shout out to a premier sponsor of the show, CanFan. We've been rocking with CanFan since the beginning of this thing. I remember when Black Leaf came to me and said, hey, when you're smoking inside, you should really hook up a CanFan. CanFan with a CanFan fan and then a controller to control that fan. So when you're smoking, light up, boom, cut the fan on. You don't piss your neighbors off, keep everything kosher. And I know that Black Leaf only found that out because of one reason.
I mean, essential in smoke rooms, essential in grow rooms, same thing. We're killing smell. Can filters, can fans. The product line is essential in any grow room. We've been rocking it for a decade plus. First smoke of the day, can filters, family.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. That just spurred that thought in my mind. It's like, yeah, if you never consume it, you miss the whole point of how you could go back and make it better.
Like,
it's like not tasting the recipe at the end. Like
100%.
You're serving cold soup. You don't even know.
Yeah, like what
the sauce.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of people, you want like a reason to do it. So if you realize like you're making something not good, you want to do better, likely.
For sure. So, no, most of these people that I'm speaking on, they're competitive.
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're just like, I don't smoke. I don't like it. I don't like the effect. Then you shouldn't be growing it.
What about the people that say, well, I rely on someone near me? I rely on a buddy to tell me.
Yeah,
is that person making the moves you make every day? No,
it's a lot of questionable.
Like, rely on other people. I mean, and yeah, that's what we used to and still do. Every harvest, smoke everything, every batch. You know, we used to smoke after the heart, like it's D-stick trimming. We'd smoke it and we'd sit around and be like, I'm like, nah, this sucks. Like, this sucks. This is like hollow. There's like, and now like talking to more people in the industry, like you start hearing common words of like real smokers. They're like, yeah, that was like hollow. Didn't have much cess in it. You're like, interesting. That's what I used to say too. Like, smoke something that's like nothing there. And like, you know, there's one run I remember in particular. I was like, this is going to be the best weed on earth, period. I'm going to flush it like crazy. I'm hitting it with so much water and 0 ppms coming out, or like 20 ppms, whatever the city water was at the time. And the weed, and in this run was what Gelinade was found, like a bunch of, you know, the Phenos plants still run by Connected. They were found in this run. And there was a lot riding on this run. I was like, there were so many seeds in there. We had so much going on. And we harvest it and it's the worst weed ever. Like, it's the worst weed ever. I'm like, this is insane. Like, how could this be so bad? And so that's when I started researching like other crops and tomatoes and whatnot. But, and to, get on nutrition, but it was like, we smoked everything and it was brutal. Like, I would sweat at night, just freaking out. Like, there's nothing you can do to take the harvest back. Like, the weed is grown. Like, it's over, dude. Like, it's
the worst feeling ever is smoking your own product and it's not good.
It really is.
And then you smoke it over and over and then you smoke some and you're just like, it's like it's like literally just the most depressing thing for like months.
It is.
Until you have a good run again. So that could be 6 months.
Really
that could be 2 or 3 because sometimes it's not just the next one that gets better.
You're only as good as your last run. And if that last run's bad, like if it's good, it's good. And it's on to the next one. And if it's bad, you know, you're just living in it. And like, then you're smoking it again. Like, is it good? Like, it's not, it's decent. Smoke it again. You're getting hella high. You're all like freaking out. You're like, it's not good, dude. It's not good. Like, it can be stressful for sure. It's a lot riding on it. You know, people don't understand just the difficulty. It's a biological process. It's a plant. We have people in there and a plant. It's like, there's so much going on, little things, and just, you know, anything can go wrong. You can do everything perfect. Your AC goes down, you know, damages the crop, whatever. You bag something too early. There's so many little nuances to just bring every time, like good weed every time, room after room, year after year. It's tough. It's stressful.
That's why the companies that are doing the best at it, their valuations are going to be insane, because when the real money guys get into this and realize how hard it is to cash crop this, what it really is to build brands, and they're going to be like, we should just acquire this for X amount. You know what I'm saying? They're going to start to, and I'm not saying either way it's good or bad, but they're going to realize it is like that. It's so hard to build this cash crop, this thing that is smokes perfect. Every run's great. You guys have all these great strains everyone loves. You have a brand people actually connect with. You know, it's like, nah, man.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that. They're going to come in and throw huge money around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. 100%. It's tough. It really is.
How do you replicate guys like you? The same, like you said, there's 5 growers that connected and they've all been there for what, 10 years plus?
Yeah.
Bro, that just speaks to the management. That speaks to the owners. It speaks to everything.
Yeah. Got, longtime friends of Caleb too. And just, people, and that's what it was that connected. It was a group of people that were just ready to ride. Like everyone's like, no questions asked. Like, let's go. And I think that's what makes like good teams and groups is just believing in the system. Like, if we believe in this and fully throw towards this and put our focus towards this, you'll be blown away with what you could accomplish. You'll be like, dude, I thought we were going to get here and you're way up here. Like, this is crazy if you just work. So a lot of it too, man. People like just work. If you put in the extra thing every day, it doesn't become extra after a while. And you're ahead. If it's like if you're building a house, you're off an inch in the beginning, you're off a mile at the end type of thing. It's like every drop in the bucket counts. So every little drop, all of a sudden, a few years down the road, you're like, dude, I got a lot more buckets filled up than you do. Let's keep riding. And so,
whole team's got to be on that page. I love how you drop that relentlessly, focused.
Yep. So where do we go from there, man? You're in more of a director role. You're connected. What's it like? How
And it's still like, to make it not glorious, it's still like trying to figure out how to grow better weed, Mm-hmm. It's still like working on that. But yeah, so connected, we kept evolving and we had, I was giving everything I could to the company and the company is looking to just get bigger and expand what we're currently doing. And I just didn't have like the life experience to be like, okay, yeah, we're going to start an R&D program, run like this and like really push it to that next level. And so we started looking for like a, VP or somebody above me to like really push this thing. And we interviewed a bunch of people and they ended up hiring a guy, Ian Justice, who he worked for Driscoll's Berries for a long time. And was a plant science guy, knows a lot about plants, agronomy, fertilizer trials. And so he gets hired and we start just kind of redoing a lot what's going on there, rethinking. He's like, hey, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions. Why do we do this? And a lot of people, like growers can, you come into a grow and people are like, this is how I do it. And they're very prideful. I think that's one thing I'm good at with a lot of growers is I'm like, dude, like, I'm not coming in to tell you what to do at all. Like you do cool stuff too. There's no, I'm the best at this or whatever it is.
Coming into growers and basically telling them what to do and how to change their regimen.
How are you able to come in there and kind of help them?
Not, just not step on their toes. Like just have an approach about it. That's like, I'm just here to help. Like, I don't care if you don't listen to me. I really don't. Like, I know this is stressful. I know you don't like that. Like, we'll just talk about it. It's nothing crazy. Let's just talk through these processes. Might just be a simple thing you're doing. I know you're trying hella hard. I can see it, but so just having that approach is just being able to work with growers. That was something that was fun to learn. But yeah, so we start changing, to looking at reevaluating a lot of our processes. And at that point, I just was like, I felt like I had given everything I could to the company and I had learned as much as I could learn. And it was time for me just to go do something else. And that's so I stepped down from Connected. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I felt like, a lot, on the grow side, I was like, man, there's a lot of cool stuff to show people. People want to know this stuff. I'm like, you get a brand around this, like just the basics, like this is weed. And so, but I didn't know what that really meant. I was just kind of thinking, and I took a job with a tissue culture company, Conceptions Nursery, and it was kind of the interface between the lab and the grows. Like basically the grows are like, hey, we're having problems with our plants. The lab's like, go check it out. Like, is it them or us? What's going on? So I started doing that. And it was kind of like the objective was to go see as many grows as I could because I'd just been in my connected bubble for 10 years. Like I didn't know anything else. Like I see people doing other stuff, but I didn't go to other grows. It's not like I was anybody. I was just a grower at Connected. It's not like Jordan, the grower or whatever, or these guys. Like we were just workers. Like we didn't know anybody necessarily. So I didn't have a bunch of connections in the industry like that. So I was like, I'm just going to go around and meet a bunch of growers, check out a bunch of grows and see what it's about. So I was just traveling the state, just greenhouses to indoor, checking out what people are doing. And I was like, all right, it's time to get a brand going. Like I see people out there that I'm like, dude, like legitimately, have you heard of the internet? Like you need to just Google something. And I mean it in the nicest way ever. Like what is going on here? Like this isn't good, you know, like it's truly not. So that's the kind of stuff I was seeing. So I was like, it's time. Like we got to get a brand. So I started thinking of like,
what are a few grows that you saw where you're like, oh shit, these people during this time, did you see any where you were like, oh shit, these guys are on point?
Yeah, I saw grows where like the infrastructure was right and people were doing, you know, decent stuff for sure. But I just felt like a lot of people were missing the target on stuff.
So looking back, you realized that your situation, it was
it was good.
You guys were ahead of the curve.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I understand why I connected, like what we're doing. And I was like looking at people's product. I'm like, no, I'm like, dude, that's a miss. Like we could do this better for sure.
And not just quality, probably what strains they chose to run, the branding behind it,
just
everything.
The whole thought, like, you know, just exactly. And like, because a lot of these guys don't smoke weed or don't know the industry. So they're just like, we're growing weed. It's like, no, man, like
not anymore.
Like you're growing weed for somebody to maybe buy it. We're growing weed because somebody wants to smoke this. Like somebody wants this. Like it's
big difference.
You know, it's taken. It's like, you know, if there's a purpose for it, you know, so it's like, that's kind of the thing. It's like, we have a pulse on the industry. We are the industry. We are the people smoking it. And this is what the people want. So there's no confusion around it. So that's when it's hard to beat people. When it's like, you are it. Like Lil Wayne, like said in an interview, you don't write anything down. He's like, I am music. Like I am it. I was like, damn, dude, he is music. So it's like, when you are weed, it's hard to compete with that. So seeing people like, what are you growing this for? Like, what is this?
For money, trying to just make some money.
Yeah, and trying to make some money, and they're trying to figure it out. And like, you know, I go to these grows and the growers are like, oh, saying the weirdest stuff. I'm like, why are you lying to yourself? Like, that's a disservice. That's not what happened. Like, oh yeah, somebody like, you know, messed with something. I'm like, like you're doing something wrong. Like and you know, people sweep stuff under the rug and pretend like there's not problems. I'm like, it's okay. There's problems like every day. This is tough. Let's talk about it instead of trying to be like, oh, you're the best. So it prevents you from excelling when you're like, oh, this is good. You know? So whatever. Yeah. I saw a lot of that. People like, we're going around, people like, we're killing it and they're not killing it. I'm like, dude, I don't think I'm killing it and I'm doing better than you. So that's weird.
Yeah. It's like, just like what Doja said.
Then you show up and they're like, this is the best shit we've been putting out. And you're like, dude, I'd be tripping.
Yeah.
If I had this.
And it's hard to say too. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, damn, you know, good shit. Like I appreciate
super hard to say,
you know, like, you know, and I'll like try to say stuff that's like, oh, like great, you know, effort on everything. Like commend you for showing up every day.
It all comes down to perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Because you didn't realize it, but man, you had landed in the middle of a situation that had a lot of perspective of what the future would look like and what it needed to be, right? And made the right connections and shit, high awareness. And then you go to these other situations where, you know, everything's been, you know, just isolated.
Yeah.
And they don't even smoke on top of it. And it's like, you're lost, bro. You're lost. The product's lost. The processes are lost. The people here are lost. And it's obvious, you know. And if you would have just smoked a joint, you probably could have found that out.
Yeah, right. That's
holy shit.
That's such a great, simple point.
Instead of this weird meeting, we could have just smoked a joint and talked for a couple hours. A bowl. Take a hit, bro. And let's just
go to a bowl.
Kind of talk about this whole big picture instead of like spitting out a computer program like recipe. They're like, this is how all right, let's do it. It's
dude, this is secretive ancient from my uncle's buddy that you're like, nah, man. Like, nah.
And it all goes back to just smoking your product at the end run and not lying to yourself. Yeah. Because that's you're the best test of it is like, nah, damn, it was better the time before.
And then know what smokers are saying is the best out. And if you want to compare something, well, then there you go. That's your people to look at, you know, but it's your case study right there, but you got to try some.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, a lot of growers too, it'd be like a 10-year outdoor grower has had 10 harvests a 10-year indoor grower, depending on as many rooms as he had, if you had 10 rooms, 6 harvests a year, 60 harvests, 600 harvests, you had 600 harvests at end of 10 years and he had 10. You're like, I saw a lot more plants than you did. So you're seeing this and you have all these rooms after each other and you did this and then you see the next room and you're like, oh, wow. You're like, you do something and it's in the next week. You're like, that wasn't good. Like, okay, don't do that again. So you're seeing like you do something and you see it, so you get that response immediately. Like not good, good, not good, good. So you're just working through it. So like seeing all those harvests was a huge thing for me too. Just observing like crazy, going as much as looking at the plants, observe. That's my number one thing in the garden. Everybody observe. This plant doesn't speak. It just sits there and it tells you how it feels through the way it looks. So we have to observe it, the environment, everything. We just look at it. So slow down and look at the plant. That's my biggest thing. But
people don't get what you just said there, because if you have 4 rooms and you're basically harvesting every week to every other week. So you're able to make these micro adjustments and then you're like, okay, not to the next room, because you're about to harvest the next room the next week. Yeah. That room comes back online. Now you have another go. So it's like, if you're that dialed, and let's say you're running a 60 to 62 day strains and you could potentially, you're having a harvest every week. You can literally make micro adjustments week by week, not even, month by month or year by year, week by week, you're making adjustments.
Yeah. And then like, for outdoors or greenhouse guys, like, cool. It was your spring run. Spring next year is going to be a whole different spring. You'll never see that again. You'll never, ever see that again. So that's where like experience comes in big with those guys. Like just all of that, like changing the season. Like I felt this cold front before. Open the hatch, whatever. Yeah. Just
that's
things
gangster.
Like little things that's like, dude, it matters at the end of it. This is a like delicate, crop we're growing.
Wow. Think about that people don't, I'm as a grower, don't think about that. For the guys out there smoking, you're talking about not 1 spring, not 2 springs, but 10 springs, and knowing like, ooh, it was cold like 7-8 years ago like this in the beginning, and it's getting a little, and you start to feel these damn, the fucking soil feels a little cold right now versus how warm it should be for the heat pushing down on it. Now these roots aren't going to grow as fast, or it's not going to absorb as much water, so they have to build bigger beds, or they have to. Very interesting what you just said there. That's, for these guys, like, there's a whole convo just about that. That's interesting.
And like observation, like seeing something, like if you had spider mites in your room and you saw the first spider mite, say, like it's taken care of, or did you see it when it's like infested? What's your observation level at? Did you see the change? Did you feel the change? Because like if you're seeing it, it's already in progress. It's like, oh, this has already been happening. So when can you see something immediately going wrong? That's where like observation coming in. Look at the plants, really pay with purpose too. Oh yeah, look at the plant. Look at this leaf. Look at this leaf. Look at this. Outside plant, inside plant, the plant that gets the most light on it, the plant that gets the least light on it. That'll tell you something. The plant that gets the most light, if it's, it might be deficient. The plant that gets the least light might be perfect, and that's balancing rooms and getting airflow right, trying to get everything looking, similar and eating the same, and just trying to make everything be the same throughout the room. So it's all observation and trying to make adjustments. And a lot of people, they might not have the tools or resources. They're handcuffed. That's working with your bosses and people trying to convince them and show the data like, hey, this is what's going, this is where we're losing. And that's what the fun stuff at Connected, like, really look at scale and how to look at this, like heat maps in your rooms. Where's your weakest plants at, or your weakest zones? What's going on in that area? Do we need to get airflow into that area? Harvest reports, analyzing every square inch of every room.
Wow.
Making sure your clones are cut on time, your veg is on time, rooms are flipped.
Yeah.
We used to have crazy, like I'd put like bonus markers on the guys, like, yield, you get this bonus. If everything passed testing, you get this bonus. If you clean a room and replant a room in this much time, you get a bonus. Everything was click, 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 click. And it was a machine. It was a cool thing to be a part of. That's the thing is, again,
what was that? At Connected?
At Connected, again, like blessed to have been part of that whole machine.
They told you, hey, that's cool. You can give them. Or how does that work when you want to implement something? When you want to implement something in the process is like over at Connected, like how did it work where I mean, that's pretty cool is like you're able to give these guys bonuses based on these things that you just know will be good for the company.
Yeah, it was like CEO put things in front of like driving us like, hey, what, like they called them KPIs, key performance indicators, right? Like what things could we set to drive, and you can get dangerous. It can get bad because if you set like a yield thing, people like just driving yield. It's like
you start picking certain strains and shit.
Exactly.
I know all about that.
Yeah, and
right.
That ties in the balance between grower and sales team. The grower's like, yo, I want to grow the fattest thing. Sales is like, grow Skittles. And they're like, dude, like,
we need Skittles.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that whole balance.
You're like, no, I want to grow golden goat.
Yeah.
Guy said he give me a Rolex if I hit a fucking certain yield. I'm gonna fill these whole rooms.
We had Presidential Kush. We had DJ Shorts Flow. We did a bunch. Don't let them play you.
Yeah.
For the audience, that gets the underlining joke. But yeah.
So you're working at at the time you're working at tissue culture. You're seeing all these different grows. Where does it go from there?
Yeah. So I'm like, let's get something going. And
what year are we at?
This is 2 years ago.
Can I interject real quick? When you have this plant sciences guy, this new CEO coming to Connect, what are some of the changes he makes? Do you remember? Could you give away a little bit of game on that?
I mean, yeah, and we'll like, I don't care. I hope no one cares, but just reevaluating everything, like room temperatures, room diffs, irrigation methods, fertilizer, everything.
Just why?
Like, why we cut a clone like this? Why don't we cut it like this? What do you do this? Do this. Why do you water like that? Let's water like this. Why do you water with this? Why do you use that? We shouldn't use that. Use this. And just and it felt like me, and that's where some of it was like, this is me 10 years ago, and I'm like, if we just like cut to the BS, like we could move forward even faster. Like, let's get you up to speed with current. And it was like, just you should just. It's just a balance of people don't respect weed like, you would want them to. Like, oh, I can grow a plant. It's like, dude, there's just so much to this. I promise you. Like, it's not just like
another situation.
And the way people evaluate weed and just what Connected was too, like this connoisseur level. I'm like, there's weed out there. Like everyone can do anything. Like I can golf. Like I'm not a professional golfer. There's a huge difference. I can drive a car. I can drive a car.
Yo, that is the best.
And to drive a car. Where
I know so many of you boys golfing and shit. You are not a professional golfer.
But even him, you could drive a car, but you're not a race car driver. You're about to say, I already knew it. I mean,
or whatever.
100%.
Think of something you're really good at. You're not a pro. Like you're just good at it, but like under what context? And if you go to that top 1%, you're not even close, dude. You're way down the line. So it's like, I'm like, we're stepping into a big arena here. Like, again, it's like the octagon. It's like, you're stepping into something that's not like, oh, yeah, dude, this is a little backyard fight. It's like, no, this is an octagon. The lights are going to cut off. You're going to be on this ring, lights on you, cameras on you, and it's on, so that's, nonetheless. So yeah, started re-looking at everything.
Interesting. And I feel like such a vital part. And that's what people like tastemakers and pack gods and guys, like as a grower, other people that come into your organization ask questions. Like he used to always say to people, ask questions, because it makes you as a grower, like even if you try to justify something that doesn't make sense to you, you catch yourself mid-sentence. You're like, why do you cut this clone this way? And you're like, I don't know, because this is the way we've always cut it. And it's like, and then you have to think like, well, why do we cut? Should we cut it this way? Maybe we should cut half of them this way and see if this root's faster.
100%.
Or let's split them down the middle. Like that's the old people used to say, or, nick them up with a razor blade 100%. Or all the 100 different methods people do.
Different layers.
There you go. It's interesting though, because I used to hear from one of the big conversations with growers is always like, do you think when the plant sciences guys come in, the like guys that are from big ag, do you think will be obsolete? And an older grower used to tell me like, nah, it's different. They know different things. It's like hand in hand. Like they come in with the different pesticide methods and different ways of handling plants. And, like you said, propagation, TC, was it more like that? Or was it more like a CEO type?
No, it was more like that. I mean, he was on the ground with the plants. And that's the thing with me too. I'm just like that. He's like, why do we do this? I'm like, honestly, it's just, that is, and I've tried this and this under this context, everything's a system. It's like currently I don't top my plants, and I always top plants. And it was like, well, if you don't top your plant, you get these skinny plants, but Were you doing something else wrong in that equation that led to that? What if your irrigation is done correctly? And that's what we find out now is like, hey, if you irrigate under a certain context, you actually can promote lateral growth. You don't need a top. So it's like, there's always something. I'm like, I don't know, this is why we do it because of this, but maybe if there's another piece in this process that we need to change as well for it to make sense, I'm open to that. So that's what, that was my last year there, was kind of diving in with him. Like, I appreciated it. I was like, maybe this guy, and again, I don't want to be the smartest guy.
It just made you better.
I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. So I'm like, dude, this guy knows a ton. I bet I could learn a bunch of stuff. And I learned a bunch of stuff from him. He taught me how to like evaluate a process. Like, there's something wrong. How do we think about it? And how do we go about finding what's wrong with it? What's the process to evaluate if something's wrong? What's our variables? How do we look at our variables, and how do we move forward? And just like organize it. He worked for a big company. And so I learned a ton from him, and that was it. I worked under them for like a year and was like, okay, I feel like I've gleaned everything I need to glean, and it's time to go do what I need to go do. I can't be handcuffed under this context anymore. It's time to go.
Well, you like absorb the powers, right? So now you got some of his powers and your powers that you had. So now you stepped up a notch to like, okay, now I can do kind of both these jobs. A year working close with somebody like you, someone who absorbs knowledge like that, you gain a lot. You gain a whole lot.
Yeah. Honored.
So, and from that period, when you left that situation, you still didn't have in your mind you were going to start your own situation.
Yeah, so I didn't know, fully. So
you went to
I started
2 jobs.
Yeah, so I started working at the grow I still currently work at, TJT, and a couple of the owners there, my partners in Blueprint. One's a mechanical HVAC guy and a builder. The other's a lawyer. Shout out Tom and Joe. Started working there, and it was just kind of like started thinking about that. And I was like, dude, like if like we get another grow, like maybe build it, like let's become a team. And so that's kind of how it was born. And we started thinking about what's the name going to be. And, I threw a couple names out. One was Blueprint, and everyone kicked it around for a while. And I'm like, dude, this is the name. Like, Blueprint is the name. And so, it's what we settled on, obviously. And it was just kind of like the one partner, Joe, the mechanical guy, we like design grows together and would look at layouts and talk over. He was like equipment, I was design. So we'd like put our brains together on that type of thing. So we were working together on that. I'm like, dude, Blueprint, like we draw blueprints. We have the blueprint. This is how you build it. This is how you grow it. This is how you brand it. This is the blueprint. Like, and we're just going to do it in a simple way. And we're like, all right, so this is what we went with. I had a buddy, Simon, shout out Simon, design a Blueprint, the logo and stuff. And yeah, we started rolling with it and just, getting strains going and that whole bit. So yeah, and in that year in the formulation of like designing the logo, we're like pheno hunting like mad, trying to get some selections, trying to get a menu put together. So it's been fun. Yeah, we do everything ourselves at Blueprint. We pop seeds like crazy. The nursery and pheno hunt life is wild, just backups and just that whole thing of going and going and going and it never stops. So it's a blast though.
That's killer, man. And you guys put out fire. People know that.
And you just started this 2 years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years. Our first drop was September last year. So coming up on a year.
It's important for people to take note of the fact you put in 10 years, then you started your own thing. Now it's been 2 years since then. Yeah. And you're getting the traction that you have been working for.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a lot longer than just like, yeah, they just started. They're already killing it. They just started. That's what you kind of hear. If it's like general word, general combos, like, yeah, Blueprint, bro, they just started. They're killing it. And people think like, damn, yeah, 2 years, but it's like, dude,
it's like, nah,
you got a damn near a whole lifetime, of seeing a big company grow fast. Now we're just not just talking about any brand. We're talking about, Connected California that, for sure when it comes to design or weed and everything, as far as production and cultivation, was scaling up quick and pumping out, still to this day, obviously pumping out heat. So it's just, that's a big camp to come into. And it's crazy that all this came from Instagram post and you weren't even an Instagram guy.
No, it's
and you were just
crazy,
like, yo, look at this shit. Oh, what?
Yeah. What's up, man?
Crazy.
Yeah. I'll come there.
The attitude though, the attitude of like, oh, you're not gonna hit him up. I'll do it then. Oh, I haven't done greenhouse. Yeah, I have, man. I'll do that. And then the greenhouse never even works out. So it's like all these moves are connected. Like, not to, you know, double entendre, but I mean, like, it is. Yeah.
That's the thing. You just, if you keep pushing, you know, things happen, doors open.
But 100% focus, no girlfriend, no side thing, no, meaning like no marriage, and you had focus on your craft. You were able to put in your 10 years and then transition to like, okay, now I'm ready for something different. I'm building my own company and I can have a family. But it's like, it is hard because it's hard for people to juggle both and be great at one of them.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, honestly, even like, I wasn't necessarily ready for a kid, but no one's ever ready. But I just knew I still had a mountain to climb. I'm like, hey, it's gonna, like, you know, even for me, like being here again, just thank you. And it's a trip, and thank you to everyone in the industry for the support. Like it's wild. I'm honored to be here. Appreciate everyone that's helped me get here. It's just, it's super cool. To be in this position and be received by the market, how I'm received by the market. And
you seem like an SOPs guy. You a big SOPs guy?
Yeah, man. Back in the day too, I'd put SOP books together. I'm like, yo, check this out. Like old school grower heads are like, bro, it's super sick. Like, that's tight. I'm like, all right, yeah, one day it's going to be something, you know? And like, so I have like my original SOP that's like, like first draft, this date, and you know, 3-ring binder. And it's a trip looking
It's
back.
the only way to get, like you said, those multiple warehouses working on the same tip most of the time. They either have to be talking and damn near be brother and sisters, or, you know, with a friendship, or you have to have these SOPs where it's like, how can Coca-Cola be produced in different countries and taste the same? You know?
Yeah, for sure.
It takes a lot of dialing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Talk about some strains and shit with Blueprint. Like, how'd you, going into this situation, you know, I know, like, I can see, like, you favor the process and the product and all that. So I could see you putting a lot more effort into that than other things, where other people, they're like, oh, we're going to do merch and we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Whereas, you know, so talk about when you're deciding, hey, what's your menu going to be? What are you going to roll out? How'd you dive into that? And
I mean, it was just, you know, finding strains that I approve of, you know, and the team approves.
This is smoking. This is a defining point.
Yeah, like, you know, just like some, you know, the biggest thing is like if it translates, like, and you know, people say it's like if it smells a certain way and it translates, it's like, all right, this is, you know, a contender. And let's
explain what that means.
Like, you know, if it smells like an apple and it tastes like an apple, it's an apple. You know, it tastes like banana, smells one way and you bite into it and it tastes completely different. You're like, your brain doesn't want that. You're like, here's a glass of Pepsi and it's water. You're like, to think it's poison.
You're,
you know,
like, disgusting.
Yeah, it's the worst thing. You're like,
not what you expect. Another point that leads back to, you got to taste it.
Yeah, you got to smoke it, man.
Well, like, I love your you made such a great point. Like, it's 0 to 100, not 0 to 90. Like, it's like you have to go the full length of the project. The project is like, how is it smoking? Because you're growing stuff to smoke, not to buy. They're creating stuff to buy. It's a completely different market. Like, I love
like,
that
it's
point.
Like a receiver being paid to catch the ball. It's like you are paid to catch the ball. We're trying to score. So like, you need to run into the end zone. Like, you caught it. Now we need you to get in the end zone. It's like, we grew it. We're growing it because people need to smoke it. So we need to smoke it because that's how all of this makes sense. Like, you get paid off of us winning, like us being a team. We get paid off it selling and people liking it. So we can't just grow it. We got to smoke it. It's got to be good. So
Such a great point, man. That is such a great point. How do you come up with the name Triple Lindy? How do you come up with some of these, you know, because some of the names are awesome, bro. You guys crush it with that.
Yeah, the Triple Lindy was Joe. It's a little older crowd than me. Like, people know Rodney Dangerfield, Back to School is what it's from. I don't know if you've seen the original clips.
That is an older movie set even than my era a little bit.
Okay, so like, Rodney Dangerfield like goes back to college with his son, and like and he was a diver when he was in college, and his son is, and they need like another diver because somebody wasn't there. So he does the Triple Lindy, and like he goes up there and like does this goofy flip. It's a funny scene. So he was like, dude, Triple Lindy, like something was said one day that led to it. And we're like, what is the Triple Lindy, dude? And he was super excited about it. We're like, all right, run with it. And it did appeal to like an older crowd. So the strain at first it was actually one of our least selling. And it's like one of the most hyped up now. So it's funny because just the name, Yeah, so that was that one.
Jesus Shuttlesworth
Jesus
was the first one I
Shuttlesworth.
bought.
Yeah, that
Jungle
was,
Boy spot.
that was we have a little hoop at our spot, and we were just shooting a little like mini hoop. Thinking of names, we're like, dude, what do we name this stuff? And my buddy's like, Jesus Shuttlesworth. I'm like, dude, what is Jesus Shuttlesworth? And it's off of a movie. It's Ray Allen's name in a movie. Can't think of it right now.
That's funny.
I think I've heard. Yeah,
That's funny as hell. So
I know
they're
I heard
all
that
along the
somewhere.
lines of like kind of like an internal joke between you and the guys. Almost starts with.
And then the P90, that was the other one. We were gonna call it P90X. Because it was like it was so intense. We're like, dude, this is intense. Like you're sweating, like you're high as could be. Feel like you just got whooped up by Tony Horton.
Smoking some Tybo.
Yeah, he's like some ab ripper X. You're all blown out. And so we're like, we'll get in trouble for it. So we're like, we'll just call it P90. And then so yeah, we rolled with it, and that's when.
And then all the old heads are like, "Is it the
P91 like from San Diego?" I'm like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But what is that? I want it. Yeah,
Old heads.
And we're just like, yeah, our names, like we have some new strains coming out, dropping in a couple months. That'll be like Purple Dinosaur, which is like a inside joke with an old friend. We used to smoke the Purple Dino, which was like this purple sour D that was just fire as can be way back in the day, and it was purple and green. We'd call it the Purple Dinosaur. We're like, dude, the Purple Dinosaur. So we got Purple Dinosaur Woogity, which is off like I can't think of it right now. I'm hella high,
That's
guys.
hilarious.
Off of whatever the show is. I can't think of it. Old school Nick show, but woogity.
I like though that like brands, man. A lot of them times they
Rocket
try
Power,
to
sorry.
they try to be like what they would want instead of like who they are. Like you guys are just being you.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's like the blueprint. We're like, we're just, doing what we do. And so my Instagram's, ran by family, essentially. So it's fun. Like we're having fun with the Instagram. Like she comes up with like, hey, maybe we could, do something about this. Like, how could we relate it to weed? I'm like, we'll just say this. Like, all right, cool. So people have been digging that. So we're just like trying to just be us, show the grow.
Your parents, your whole family's cool with the weed thing?
Yeah, I don't know. Like they
still unsure?
Yeah, it's fine. I kept it from them for a long time. So my dad's a preacher.
Oh,
actually. So I kept it from them. And then it got to a point where they were just like worried about me. They're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, all right. So me and my dad went golfing, and I told him, I was like, hey, so he's driving the car. I'm like, so I'm growing weed, and I just see his knuckles just getting white. And I'm just like, I'm just telling you, I'm not asking for permission. I just want you to be aware of my life so you know what's going on. And let me just explain what it is. So I talk about it, and it was hard for him. It was a lot. Definitely hard on the family. So I sacrificed a lot to do what I do. And I believed in this a long time ago, just with the way of the world right now, just like trying to eat good foods. And I think weed is a healthy thing that should be part of, our community. So yeah, now they accept me. I don't know, I don't tell them everything I do. I'm very vague with it, and they're like, oh yeah, very, and people ask them about it, and they just kind of, we don't really know anything. So we just kind of leave it at that. So I don't know, maybe they'll see some of this.
Sometimes it's better.
They're definitely going to be getting in the living room and watching this one for sure.
Yeah, one day. They'll be like,
they're going to put it on. Your sisters would be like, yep, he did an interview. Go watch Jordan. He's on there talking about it. He's on YouTube right now.
My sisters have always
your pops would be in there with the whole church service watching it, cheering you on, man.
That's what's going to happen.
Come on.
So you have younger sisters or older?
I have 2 younger sisters and 1 older sister.
What do they think about it? They're pretty cool with it?
Yeah, 2 of my sisters are. My youngest sister is a little more just conservative in that realm of weed. She's, obviously still likes me. She would always be like, I know you're in a better mood when you smoke.
Yeah.
Like, what up? So she was like, I'm fine with it. But she lives in Texas and just kind of has certain views on things. But I'm sure over the years it'll shed away. And even like my parents, they're just getting older, and friends are getting cancer, and they're seeing like the pill side of everything. And so them seeing all that, and they're like, my sister helps with the IG. She pushes it on them a lot. Oh, you could be trying these pain creams, and weed's not that bad, blah, blah, blah. And they're starting to realize like, hey, this is good. It helps people that have are in a lot of pain and all these situations. So it's like, you can only deny something for so long. Like, the media and propaganda just falling away just because we can actually talk and information sharing, This is a good way the world's going right now. One of the positive ways things are going is just that.
Absolutely.
Holistic thing, good food, local food, growing your things yourself, understanding all these poisons out there, how it affects our bodies. It's important. It really is. So, yeah. So they're coming around to it. So see what the future holds.
It's always interesting, the family dynamic with cannabis, when you have someone that's so in depth with it, like you, or, growers or guys that have built their whole life around it.
Yeah.
I always ask about the family dynamic because it gets interesting. I've had similar types of, everybody I know has had similar types of like, man, this was tough at first. I know guys that were damn near at the top of their craft by the time they told their parents, like 12, 13 years in of like we run 600 lights, and their parents think they run like some, and it's like, you still haven't told them you run 600 lights. You're like built one of the best companies in the state. They're like, nah, it's not the time yet. It's like, wow. It just, it's an interesting dynamic family.
Yeah. And like, I've told my parents like Blueprint, like it's like uttered out. And like one time, like a little bit ago, my mom's like, see you later, Mr. Blueprint. I was like, what do you know? Like, so it's like, really? Yeah. Like, and it's kind of weird. And maybe it's not, the best thing, but it's hard to like, it's another life that is like me that is not shown. So it's an interesting one. So I look forward to the day where it's a little more, open gates around that.
It's funny too, because it's hard to explain to them, I bet, how big you guys are. Because like, if you're in the weed industry, you're like, oh, these dudes are crushing SoCal. They got strains. What are your parents are? You know what I'm saying? You're like, no, we got 4 strains on 7 different shelves. And they're like, sounds good. Are you going to be over for dinner tonight? Or are we get, it's like,
I was in the Olympics, man. It's crazy. They're like, okay, you doing okay?
We got first. They're like, yeah, you all right? In a weed competition? You're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, that's interesting.
It's a bunch of other dudes just like me.
Yeah. Bro, the combos. And you'll literally talk for 10. I can only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's cool. Whatever.
So where's it go from here now with like Blueprint? I mean, you guys are on Jungle Boys, TLC. Every time I go there, you guys are on the shelf there, and it's always fresh product.
Every big shelf all across Canada, California. I mean, before I knew of you or even the brand, I was seeing the product on shelves, which says a lot. That how did you also navigate? Let's get more into the Blueprint to not cut everyone short. But how did you also navigate into? All right, this person will handle distro. This person will do this. This person will do that. How did you create that team? It's important. Did you just know people that you already kind of had a few in your head, or like how'd you go about that process?
Yeah, it was kind of organic. And my other partners in Blueprint, and then Drew Coogee, Green Dog. Shout out Drew Green Dog. He's involved. And we're kind of all in the same suite. We have Artisan Canna Cigars, so shout out Artisan as well. Is our neighbor. So it's like we grow it, and the suite next to us is distribution. And then Drew helps with sales and the distribution. So it's just like, hey, like the pipeline's there. And then Drew's like, you've been growing this, you have a story. So Drew goes around, to retail like, hey, you remember Connected Weed, these areas, whatever, this is blah, blah, blah. They're like, cool, we'll give it a shot, and that was it. And everyone, so again, shout out Drew and the industry for just like, being receptive to that. Like, all right, give them a shot. And so that's what it took, then people give us a shot on the shelves, and it was organic from there. People were shouting us out, and the feedback was amazing, and it's like, it was stressful, man. I remember when the first drop, I was like sweating, like about to pass out. I was like smoking the batches. I was like, this isn't good enough. Like sweating. Everyone's like, bro, this is fire. I'm like, it's not good enough, dude. First ice packs on me. I'm passed out. I'm like, dude, I got to get better at handling this stress. Like, this is not good. So like evolving in that, growing in that, like, okay, how do you deal with this stress? Like, what can you do? Just make sure you just keep it at that. Like, do something about what you can do. Don't let it happen again. And, be honest. And, that's the best you can do. That's all you can do.
Yeah, because it's you stressing out. And most of the time people are like, this is better than the last batch. And you're like, no, it's not. Yeah. And you're like, ugh. And, and it's like over or it's like, oh, it tastes about the same as the last time. You're like, it's, it's micro. You're talking 8 to 8.5 to 9, which most people, it's an 8 and a 9. It's good, bro.
It's good. Fire. Yeah. So whatever. Yeah, which is good to do. It's good to be your hardest critic. So yeah, like we're doing artisans, doing the distro. Drew's helping with sales.
Talk about what's in this one right here.
Dude, I don't know. It says it on those from Drew.
Dude, this is crazy.
Tastes great.
I think they're the
3.5 grams of Zope.
Yep.
Shout out to that boy Dio. And 1 gram of dog breath live rosin in it. And this, bro, shout out to Artisan, man, because
that's all tied up.
Oh, this is all tied up.
Yeah,
so the other one was the Artisan. The one
then
Drew
this
brought
one's
was
Stewart's.
Yeah,
we got a bunch of. I mean, you guys collabed the hell out of these.
Yeah, Drew brought those down, so we're like, slide you guys a couple of those.
Big
so
old hash hole.
Yeah, I know.
Fire.
Smoke for a while.
Fire.
The flavor on you guys' stuff too. That's what I kept. I just finished that. So I smoked it all the way down. I was like, wow, the flavor's hitting all the way at the tip.
Yeah, that was like,
Great
a little
flavor.
slogan I was doing a little bit for BP was like, till the last hit, which is just like, what? They're people like, it's like smoking good, tasting good. It's like, this is till the last hit. Like, you burnt,
Is that the motto?
Yeah, there's a little slogan. It's just till the last hit. It's
I
just
like that.
Yeah,
Till the last hit.
Smoke this thing down. Like it's, that's what we look for. It's like if you put something out, and that's
For
when we're going through
smokers by smokers.
Yeah, and like we're going through pheno hunts. We're like, I like to. Everyone has their style of like tasting stuff and evaluating. I rapid fire like crazy. I'm like, people are like, how do you know the high or whatever? I'm like, I don't know. I'm pretty like sensitive and aware to. I'm like, I could feel this one. I'm not fully evaluated. I'm high, but I'm like, this one like cut through. If it cuts through other stuff, obviously it's potent too. And then like just real comparisons. Like, oh, this one's not good. This one's good. And just rip through it. If you put it out, it's not good.
It's done. I never relight joints
if it's enjoyable, like you're gonna smoke it
you
to
can't
the
put
last
it down.
hit. You're like, dude, this is so. It's like that's the standard trying to get to, where it's like, dude, you don't want to pass it. You're like, this is mine. I'm gonna smoke it to the last hit, type of thing. So that's what we kind of go for on like pheno hunts. Like, not good enough, not good enough. You put it out. Like if it was good, you would have done that. So
another part of the blueprint.
That's part of the blueprint. It's just,
I like that.
It's clever branding. It worked out.
Yeah, like it was a little hard with the theming at first, but it's like, this is the blueprint. Like, so it's starting to grow and figure out how we brand ourselves and stuff. It's been fun.
What's some shit you're looking forward to? Like what, how do you continue to retie your purpose into whatever you're doing rather than get like complacent or comfortable?
Yeah, and it's important for me. Like I have like ADD or ADHD, just like always wanting to do something different. Like I have a cool thing going with, shout out Curb Terps, Zach Shaner, the homie. We have a product we're doing called Curb Terps. It's skateboard wax.
Love it.
Oh, Curb Terps.
Curb Terps.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. CURB
So like,
Terps.
yeah, Curb Terps. And it's
Super
like you
dope.
buy like a half ounce and it's weed and it's like branded like weed. Like you go get a half ounce and in it is nugs. And we took nugs from Real Harvest and I'd made like silicone molds with them and then use that as a wax mold. And we were making all our wax molds and then putting terps in it and coloring. So you get a bag of like perps. That's like Curb Terps for skateboarding.
Yeah, for when you do grinds and you're going out.
So it's actual wax.
It's actually it's just
but it
skateboard
looks like
wax,
nug,
but
a
it
bag
looks
of
like
nugs.
nugs, and it smells like it has. And we use real like weed terps, like
Dude.
through like you can get them off the internet. So we're like working on different blends. It's not like full translation, but yeah, Curb Terps.
But this is gonna drop.
Oh yeah, it's like
bro.
in the works right now. It's already like he's like giving it to skaters and stuff. He's a skater. He works at Blaze and J's. I don't know if you ever heard of Blaze One Glass. Shout out Blaze.
Yeah.
They're a longtime glass blower, heady boys. But yeah, we're doing Curb Terps, which is going to be sick. So and then we'll and these are like, we use real nugs for the molds, which is cool. And then like, once that's rolling, we'll do collabs with real brands. Like this is a blueprint Curb Terps and like a blueprint bag, like at Zoomies or at a skate shop. So doing a little fun thing like that. And working with Proper. If you guys seen Proper, shout out Proper Doinks. Working with them I just like being part of a brand that has like a personality. Like a brand takes a personality and a unique person to like drive it. And that's what I'm trying to do with Blueprint. And I think other unique individuals that have like a clear vision and goal and what they're trying to accomplish, I'm like, I could ride with that. Like, so growing for them and trying to do like fun stuff, man. I think like lounges is the next like, thing in the industry that's going to
Speaking my language,
pop
man.
off.
Oh man,
I like this guy.
Yeah.
So like, I think Sacramento, I don't want to like reveal too much, but like whatever. I don't care about the competition because we're
Sac
going
will
to do what we
support it.
do.
The culture's
Yeah,
there
yeah.
strong.
Yeah, and I think dude, a lot
Yours
of
will be
this
different.
is like people are like, I feel like people are, you know, they're like, oh, let's build a lounge, and it's like the same thing with grows. Like, oh, let's get a grow. It's like, let's build a lounge.
That's
people
it.
might
The cottons there.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're building a spot for the people we hang out with to come. Like that, we have people that need to go somewhere
For us.
So it's like, yeah, everyone in the community needs somewhere. It's like, how nice would it be?
That's how it
Land
always
in
starts.
Sacramento, and you can just go somewhere and smoke, hang out,
Yeah.
have some nice drinks, comfortable environment, talk with people, have a little podcast room, you know, do taste tests there, brand events, just a comfortable,
everything.
Food off the hook and drinks off the hook, you know, like fresh whatever smoothies
DJ
or lemonades.
sets. I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many inspiration from so many different lounges and ways to look at it. And, you know, looking at like a membership model to like kind of weed out some riffraff, like, you know,
Absolutely.
buyers can go there and like, you know, talk with different people and, you know, show them different weed. Obviously,
Try the product.
No sales there, but come smoke the weed. Let's talk about it. And you can have a business meeting like it should be conducted, you know, just like this. This is comfortable. We get to smoke and hang out. Weed people just want normal things. They're always like, oh, weed events got to be this. It's like, no, we just want to be able to smoke weed, eat good food and be comfortable. Want to be out on pavement in 100-degree weather with pop-up tents. Like, there's a weed event. Everyone's passing out on the
3
ground.
hours from
You guys aren't having fun?
Like, yo, what?
Why aren't you having fun? It's like, dude.
Yeah, like, here's a water. You're like, I'm dead. And like, literally, like, I remember at High Times events outside, you know, which were cool, but yeah, people just passing out, like just being super high in the heat.
But it brings you around to like, we lost a lot of our community, our like smoking and hanging out and cross conversations and stuff when these like, when legalization hit, all that shit stopped. We used to have lounges. We used to get up. They were sessions. There were events, chalice. Finally, it pulls back around and we just had the Olympics, which was like the first event in the legal space now that was like, oh, okay, this reminds me of where we were and where we're going, where it's like, oh, I was seeing all, you know, ran into Wizard Trees, ran into Dio, ran into, you know what I'm saying? It was everybody, LA Family Farms, Cushco, all the owners were there like old times. Yeah. You could actually have a call, oh, bro, let's sesh real quick. And then, you know, exchange some nugs, talk and be like, bro, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a year. You've been in the garden I haven't left. It's like, oh yeah, all right.
Exactly, dude.
Crazy.
Yeah, shout out Zaw. Speaking of that, Green Wolf, like it was so cool. It was so good for the team. Like we're like, bro, it was a magical night. Just like for the industry, just being part of it. It was like, dude, this does
a lot for the morale, but not only the culture, but the teams that are cultivating and producing.
Yeah,
that don't get out. You
100%,
know,
and just behind the scenes,
and it shows them like, oh shit, there's people that appreciate this stuff. Like, man, whole new sense of purpose.
That's what, like, for my guys, like we huddled around before it and after it. It's like, yo, just remember this. Like, this is special. You know, like win or lose doesn't even matter. None of that matters. Like you out here, try your best. What happens, happens. It could be anybody's day. And that's people with, like competition. It's like you cannot place, and that's all right. It could be not your day. You know, everyone doesn't it's not everyone's day all the time. Somebody's got to win. Someone's got to lose. So it's just like, you know, the camaraderie around that too. And I felt like everyone was cool with a lot of that. It was like, dude, it's competition. Nobody cares who wins. It was like, we're just hanging out, smoking. It was sick. Yeah. Hell of a good time.
That was what was important about that night too, was it wasn't all about the fucking awards.
Yeah.
Which was nice.
Yeah.
Yes. No
like,
one really,
cool.
and everyone supported each other. There was like, you know, there's no one there like, fuck those dudes, you know, not to my knowledge at least, right?
Not to
like
my knowledge
you
either,
didn't feel it. And it was just like, everyone was there like saying what up to each other. And it's funny to see, like, you would think all the competing brands, it would be more, but not with the Olympics. Like they did it in the right way where it's like, people are happy to see each other and it's a celebration.
Yeah. And
which is what it needs to be.
Exactly. And I think having the people do the voting like helps with that too, because like you get a little like, man, is this brand involved, you know, that gets political, and you're thinking in the back of the head, it's like, look, dude, this is just people thinking what, you know, people voting on what they think. Come hang out. That environment is like awesome.
Yeah, it's not like the end all be all of the awards. Of course the brands appreciate it, but they're still there to support and like, you know, just have a good time.
Have a good time.
Get out
and connect. There's guys
Team
at other
outing.
brands that are in that same position. Like the guys at your team, that same team with LA Family Farms, that same team at Cushco, that same team, and they get to connect now. They get to be like, oh shit, you're the guy. Oh, dude, you run. Oh man, we do. You know, and it's just they never get to do that. We never get to do all that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I met Wizard. I was like, dude, I'm like, I always wondered what a wizard was, like what a wizard looked like. I'm like, you look pretty pretty normal to me. He's laughing at me. So it was just cool. I'm like, you're just just brief talking. It's like very similar life. You do a lot of the same stuff because that's what it requires to be here. It wasn't just like, oh, we're here. It requires a lot of the similar behavior. So that was super sick. I was like, dude, I was just a, kid from Orville growing, and I see Wizard Trees and Dio and all these guys. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, just everything about it. Then I'm up in that arena with them. I was like, dude, just to be here is so sick. I'm like, this is crazy. Get an award. I'm like, that's wild. That is way cool. Yeah.
Super dope. And I'm not gonna lie, you were my top. If you go back to this Olympics video we cut, you were definitely my top 3 in there. Yeah. With the triple Indy. I mean, that shit was,
and the first Olympics
special. It's like you said to the last hit, because I smoked that whole thing. Was like, I didn't want to fucking
pass it. That's why when I smoked the box too, and I've like, it's good for me too. Like, I smoke other brands and I smoke the box, and I'm like, and I did my rapid fire. I'm like, smoke them all. I open every jar, smell every single one, kind of lay them out just like that, and just smoke them. And I'm like, this one, this one, this one. And it's basically how it fell. I thought Cali Kush was up there as well.
Yeah, that was my top 3 too.
And
Foreign Genetics, Sherblotto.
Foreign Genetics. And then like top 5 was
Zope. Zope was
the 3
Blue
plus
Zushi.
Cali and the Sherblotto.
Exactly.
So it was cool to see how everything stacks up. You're like, all right, people are with it. Like, I fully agree with that. It felt honest.
It did.
And those top guys, shout out Dio, Wizard, and Tenko Zushi. Like, I'm like, dude, again, it's anybody's day. It's like, whatever it is, let's shake it out. This is cool. So
I love it. The cannabis community is strong, man. It gets a bad rap sometimes with like a lot of the hate online, because that's what all people focus on. But when you get all these brands together, it's all love, it's all friendship, it's all sharing joints, sharing nugs, talking about this, because that's what it's really like. When I really link with brands, I see way more of that than I see any type of hate or any type of jealousy, or even it's like, oh, bro, did you? Okay, yeah. I see collabs happening. I walked up on, I'll still never forget this. It was Kenji and Josh D, and they're like in a deep conversation, right? And I was just like, holy shit, this is like some crazy history. These two guys just chatting it up. And like, it was after half the people had already left, right? And they're just sitting there just, going back and forth. And I was just like, man, to be a fly on the wall, with just listening to these two guys talk about history, life, the business, this, like, it's just interesting, bro. And that's the real compassion. And that's the real industry, is like guys that have been through the war together. Right. And then they're like, man, fucking, 64 was tough, or that battle. Yeah. It's like, it is that, man. I'm just glad to see like guys like you, just representing cannabis the right way and like talking about it openly. A lot of people don't talk about it openly.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
When you projecting for the lounge, because that's gonna be dope. So
yeah, man. I'm like,
there's a close circle, close group that you'll be able to curate out of there. It's gonna be fire.
Yeah, and we're like, the vision is like super high end. Like, this is like plush. Like,
talking my language, just man.
Really comfortable, dude. And like, and I think it's just gonna turn into more like just that network is gonna just catch on fire of people like, and we want things to come from it, like new companies to be born, new relationships to be born. So yeah, we're looking at definitely people have been receiving it well, and I got a lot of people like, yo, I'll throw money, let's do. So it's like, okay, let's really look at this structure. So just really flushing out structure right now of like how it all works, looking at a couple spaces, and just kind of putting those pieces together and figuring out who we can use around us. And it'd be cool to take it, international one day, like big dreams.
Hell yeah.
So, it's like American Express lounges or whatever, but like, I'm sure there's other ones. There's all types of, exclusive lounges all around I have no clue about.
Soho House, things like that.
Yeah. Like ones you like see a little logo, you're like, what's this about? Like this door, like, and you just have no clue what it is.
It's a members only lounge.
Yeah. So something like that. So aiming for as fast as possible though. Like, want to move with it and like have partners that are like furniture makers, like custom furniture makers. Like, I know a couple of people that are custom furniture makers and get really cool furniture pieces and do really cool design work. So it's like, all right, we want real nice leather couches, like super comfortable, kind of cigar, like lounge vibe or so. But yeah, we'll see. A lot in the air and working on a lot of different pieces, but that's like something that has me super excited right now for sure. And that's it. Always just like, what's the next thing in the industry or in life? Like, just want to keep growing and pushing, chasing your dreams. I think that's for everyone. Like, truly do it. You know, don't just, oh yeah, we could do this. Just do it. Go ahead and do it. You know, I have a dry rack company. I make dry racks. Like when we were harvesting years ago, it connected, like one of my first harvests, we were chopping plants down and there was a rack with wires on it. And we would drape the plant over the wire and then wheel the rack into a dry room, take the plant off the wire and put it over a pole. And I'm like, and we'd rip buds off. And I'm like, why are we like putting it here, wheeling it, taking it off, putting it here? Why don't we just like cut the plant off and have a peg that you just slip the plant over? And like Caleb was right there and Mark Wendell, shout out Mark, contractor, did a lot of connected stuff, and built the original rack. He's like, dude, that's a great idea. And so they've welded up these dry racks, and that's the racks, you know, Connected uses to this day. He's pull it up into the room, slap the plants on, wheel it into the dry room, and you're done. You know, then you add metric and you have to weigh plants, but you still take a plant, weigh it, put it on the next rack, wheel it into the dry room. So I was like, all right, I want to take this to market. Like I'm going to fully design a rack. And I've learned a lot doing it. It's not crazy successful. We're still inching. And there's other products that are good competition out there, but it taught me a ton about business, and I'm just happy I did it. You know, just like do it. Even if you fail, it's like failure's good.
People are just learning now, like you, because you assumed, oh well, they'll need to not manhandle the weed. People are just learning now, oh shit, I got to not manhandle these plants. Like the more I take this plant and lug it over here and then put it here and then chop it into 5 pieces, then do this, the worse it gets every time someone has to play with it. Yeah. So if you can just put it on a hook and then take it off the hook, that's the best case scenario. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It assumes the knowledge of like, we want to grow really good weed.
Yeah. So it's like Super Nurture Pro, S&P is it? And it's just like limit touch points. I was looking at all the process. I'm like, if we can touch it, I want this bud to float off the plant into the consumer's jars. That's not realistic, but how close can we get to that? You know, and start looking at all and continually doing that. Like, and that's a big part with Blueprint too. And like the trim crew, Sang, who runs it, I've been working with Sang for many years. This guy is we've floated through the industry from maybe site to site or maybe group to group, and Sang still trims our product. Shout out Sang. And just the grading process and how we touch it and handle it and all that. Just always looking at everything we do, you know, to make sure it can be the best.
When you bring in a new person into the cultivation or like into management, what are you looking for in a person? Like when they come and sit down with you for interview, or do you do that part?
Yeah. And I've had a guy who's been my right hand for many years. I need to shout out him, Taylor Figs. He was original Alien Labs member, and when Connected and Alien formed up, Taylor came down. He was from Reading. We like played baseball on, you know, opposing high schools, started knowing similar people. I'm like, oh, you were on that team? I'm like, oh, I remember playing you guys. And like, oh, I remember that night. And he was very similar athlete, competitive. So we've been working together for a while now, and we run a pretty lean team. You know, me and him could take care of 300 lights, but we just, you know, or plus 400 lights, but we'll bring in labor for major events, a major de-leaf, harvest, de-stick, and trim. We're not doing that, but the day-to-day sprays, mom room, clone cutting, up potting, moving plants, all, you know, fixing everything. That would be us. But what I look for, and we have a couple new guys, Jake and Richard, shout out to them. They do a lot of the growing up with BP with us. They've been amazing. And I look for people who are just like you would on a team, like people who are receptive to criticism, people who observe. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you make a bean burrito however you want. If you work at Taco Bell, you're going to make it how Taco Bell says to make it. And if you want to make it different, we're going to talk about it. And it's that simple. Like, this is what we do here. And until you can beat that, do it like this. And we don't shove it down their throat. And a lot of the guys come in like seeing how we run the grow, and they're like, dude, like, you know, we've worked in the current grow we have another group that cultivates with us. And I've worked side by side with others. They're like, you guys are always like happy and chilling. Like, it's not all crazy. I'm like, well, we're just like slow with our movements. We know what we're doing here. So it's a comfortable environment for guys, but it's like guys that observe. Observation still, it always comes up. I'm like, observation, because they'll be like, hey, I noticed this. I'm like, if you know what right looks like, if it doesn't look right, then something's wrong. So that simple observation right there. Like, is a plant supposed to look like that? No. So something's wrong. You know,
Is the room supposed to feel like that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And then teaching everyone, like, these days, this is the temperature. So then a lot of people would, like, you know, hide information. It's like, you have an army around you. Why are you hiding that? Like, oh, we don't tell people our temp schedule. It's like, well, then shit, if something's messed up, you're the only dude who can catch it. That's not good. You know, everyone needs to be aware. When you leave, it's going to just be not good. Like, this has to run no matter what. If you get killed, we still need to grow. You know, you get a car wrecked, you know, be brutal, or something that happens, we still got to know what we're doing here. You can't just hide everything. So it's like bringing the team around that. Like, everyone knows everything. This is what we're trying to accomplish. So just look for guys like that. It's often athletes that work in the garden with us, or restaurant people who are just like, the food industry is brutal and people just work hard. Like, they're just in the kitchen, boom, 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 working long hours, hard hours. Those guys are usually what you end up in the garden with. All the guys are, either, you know, athletes, skaters, something that, you know, they've pushed themselves.
Man,
So
I mean,
that's what I look for. Athletes.
Yeah, no, and it's good to know, because people always ask me that type of stuff in DMs. People are always asking, like, what are you looking for in a person? How do I get hired? How do I show up? You know, because I mean, like, most weed companies are always looking for good people.
They are.
If for the right person, they will hire you, no matter if they're not looking for a good person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we're not hiring right now, but for the right person, we are. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so you know how that goes.
Anywhere in life, I say, I'm like, I can, and maybe I'm crazy, but I'm like, I could accomplish anything. I think, like, if I like really wanted to, not anything within reason. I can't do math that well, but you know, like, I could have a pizza shop or something. Like, just really dedicate yourself to it. And it's like, showing up is a big part of it. You know, if you show up and are there on time and do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be ahead of a lot of people right there. Just doing what you're supposed to do it's kind of wild too. You're like, dude, if you just do what you're supposed to do, you're going to be a shining star. Like, do a little more, you know? So yeah, people are just responsible for themselves. You know, really want to get it.
It's funny because, like, I've like had a couple conversations with like big CEOs from other businesses, and they always bring up, like, if you got killed, what would we do? You know, like, well, if you get killed, we got to know all this shit. Yeah. And you never hear that much, but it's funny you brought it up, because I've only heard it in combos with like meetings with contracts on the table. Like, we need to, because if you get killed, and I'm always like, if I get killed, and then I'm like, it comes up more and more with like, all right, I get it. Because then everything's done with you.
Yeah. Like,
that's it. Everyone loses the whole,
on.
Yeah. No matter how big it gets. Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
interesting.
For, you know, anyone, it's like, we have to pass things on to evolve. So it's like, this information needs to be taught, and the person below me or learning from me will be better than me one day. They better be better than me. If they're not, I failed. The person below you better be better than you. Otherwise, you didn't give them the resources, because they should be able to get what you have and then be able to expand upon it. They shouldn't work their whole life to learn what you have. You've already learned it. You should be able to share that with them, obviously. And that's the whole like 10,000 hours thing. It's like, they're still putting in 10,000 hours, but they had a different starting point. You know, they didn't start where I started. We got to keep this line, things pushing down the line. So
that's how you further the industry.
That's how you further industry.
Wow.
It's like, you know, my day, I'm growing old, you know, my time's going to come, and same for the next guy. It's like, it's not me, it's this industry. I'm so blessed to be part of this movement. It's bigger than just me. It's like, dude, this is for life. Like this, we're passing the knowledge of this plant on, truly. It's a trip, you know, a lot for these weed guys. People just been in their garage doing stuff. No, all of that has accumulated to a legal industry in California and pushing on the world, and what's going to happen next with weed, we don't know. And it's all because of all this stuff. So it's wild, you know?
It is wild. Where does it go from here, right?
Yep.
Shit, man. Any shout outs, anything you want to close out with?
I don't know, man. Hopefully I covered everything. It's a lot. It's like when you're sitting here, a lot to talk about, you know? But just cool. It's been fun. Going to continue to do what we do. This is a lifestyle for us. You know, it's been fun learning too with the brand. Like don't get lost in the sauce. Like focus on your basics. Keep going on that. But yeah, shout out to everyone. You know, if I didn't say your name and you've been integral part, you know, there's a lot of people. I have a ton of appreciation for people I've been around. Again, people have shed so much light on me, but you know, you could lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink. So there's a lot of dedication and hard work I put into this. So it feels good to know it was worth it, but I still appreciate everyone around me that's given me opportunities and the platform to do that. So. And thank you guys again. This is cool. The whole industry. Let's keep doing the shit.
Yo, straight up stand up dude, man. Jordan from Blueprint.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yo, until the last hit.
Till the last hit, man.
It's episode 60. First smoke of the day. Let's go. Damn, this place is huge. I gotta get what I need and get out of here, man. I'm in a rush. What? Whoa, Blackleaf?
Oh, you already
What you doing here?
I basically live here. Grow Generation, Can Filters, Power SI, Athena Products, Lux Lighting. Man, I mean, I basically live here. Grow Generation store is the largest hydroponic store I've ever been to. It's crazy.
The largest hydroponic retailer in the nation with over 60 locations, so you know they got one near you. It's growgeneration.com and @growgeneration on Instagram. Tell them First Smoke of the Day sent you.
Yo, what type of silica do you use in your garden? We rock Power SI, the original all day long. Take a look at this though. We got the bloom. This right here, this is a game changer for any garden. If you want bioavailable silica, Power SI, First Smoke of the Day. Yo, welcome to the Diamond Mine. The diamondmine.la, California source for boutique genetics. Powered by yours truly, Blackleaf. And you know what that means? That means I'm bringing my best genetics into this. I'm bringing stuff I've been hiding, harboring away, stuff I haven't wanted to let out. We're bringing all that into the diamondmine.la, and we're gonna offer that to California. Go on our website, hit the newsletter, and see if you can rock with us. Get on board with some of our genetics and change your garden. The diamondmine.la, powered by Blackleaf.